And we are live with episode number 5 of the Crystal Crusaders. I am your DM, Brad, joined by most of my players. James is going to be late, and Tom is working this week again, so um, still no sign of him and his mysterious character that supposedly exists. Um, but nonetheless, the show, as they say, must go on. And so we are going to get kicked off here with a little recap of what happened last time. This week it shall be delivered by none other than Mike, playing as the halfling Nibelung. Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell us what happened last time on the Crystal Crusaders?
So last time, after failing to kill the giant, we were set to kill by the giant dragon. We went back, headed back towards Bryn Shander, where we were intercepted by the sheriff, and we told him about our failure, but he understood. It's not an easy task. We went back to the town. Did some shopping. We decided to follow whomever the bloodstone was pointing towards, which we set off towards Waterdeep, and we decided to. We heard that Sirac was going there also, so we asked him if he wanted to join us, or rather we could join him, because safety in numbers and all. So we all had a night's rest at an inn, and the next day we set off with a cart, a spectral moose, an elk summoned by Alquil, and Bella pulling said cart that we were given by the generous people of Bryn Shander. After an uneventful trip for a while, we ended up on a mountain pass where we were set upon, or rather, sort of set upon an airship, some kind of an airship, with I believe there were Tiamat dragon cultists, which decided to dump some refuse on top of us. And just after this happened, we were set upon by 2 frost giants who seemed to know precisely where we were, leading us to believe that there is more than one of these bloodstones. The ship and us initiated a fight with said giants. Although after being handily getting our asses kicked by the giants, Deus Ex Machina happened, and a gargantuan red dragon showed up. Basically, 2-shot the giants that we had barely, or maybe one of them we almost killed, but handily killed them, and roared at the airship that was trying to flee to stop, which it did. And I believe there were no conversations started yet, so I believe that's where we left off. Me and Alquil cowering after almost certain death underneath one of the first giant corpses.
I am pinned! I can't get it off, it's this big!
Which only leaves Lucas left upstairs to be seen.
Lucas and Max.
Well, no, she's comatose.
She just falls over unconscious suddenly.
No, she poofs into a card and shoots into my hand.
Maximilian Pegasus shows up and turns her into a card. And
Pegasus!
Oh, I was going to say Marluxia turned him into a card and handed it to Lucas.
Sure, yeah. That too.
Because we are actually in Castle Oblivion this entire time.
Weren't they summon crystals originally in this campaign, though?
What?
I remember Morton's character. He was always a summon crystal.
Yeah, he was a summon.
Dude, do we want to just stick with that?
Sure.
Okay, everyone's a summon crystal now.
Sure. Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Call of Duty, man.
So, yes, we pick up right where things had left off. You guys had been um, basically assaulted by these frost giants that had been camped up on the road waiting for something. When suddenly they seemed to detect your presence, though they could not possibly have seen you. They seemed to have knew where you were. Um, and a battle broke out between them, you, and these cultists on this airship, which promptly sort of began like fleeing after they realized that whoever was manning their ballista need to be like replaced or fired or something because they sucked at it.
I mean,
However, as things were starting to look poorly for our adventuring heroes, a massive red dragon swept in, causing the mountain to quake as it landed, and with a breath of flame so hot as to have melted the metal heads of these frost giant axes, managed to fell them with breath alone. And so we pick up Nibby and artist Simber, quote unquote, are currently sort of underneath one of the charred frost giant corpses, like struggling to escape. Um, Alquil having been knocked unconscious in the fight, and suffered some death saves from being landed on by a giant.
well,
Um,
Niveling also was knocked unconscious. We were both knocked
Yes,
unconscious.
there was much unconsciousness. Definitely won't be suffering concussions from that at all. Um, and yeah, so I guess we pick up with basically you see this airships that was sort of like slowly moving away begin to like stop and like kind of like turn back, looking for like a place to land, after this dragon basically like shouted at them. Um, so uh, that is where we pick things off. You could see the dragon sort of like um, smoke kind of billowing forth from the back of its jawline, um, and it has one of its like claws on the giant that like is pinning Alquil, um, and like unbeknownst to you, Alquil is actually kind of holding it down on you, but like not it's like not on purpose. It doesn't even like know you're there. Um,
Which means it puts all its weight on it and crushes us.
Don't worry, Alquil. I'll command him to get off you. No, I'm
and
not gonna do that.
yeah, it's sort of like there's a moment passes and you can see that the airship is like turning around to like land in this little kind of like clearing area over here. Lucas, what are, I suppose since Alexei is a summoning crystal apparently now,
Yeah, of course.
Lucas, what are you doing like in this situation? You can see the dragon kind of like looking around. You know that like Nibby and Alquil were down there somewhere, but you can't quite see them from your current position.
Wait, sorry. Am I actually stuck? Because I
No, you're not. You're
crawled
not
in.
stuck. You like crawled under, so
Yeah.
you're not stuck. But Alquil is like super stuck.
Although if the dragon is pushing down, maybe I'm getting.
If you stay down there much longer, you might stay stuck.
Yeah. I'm gonna. So there's no. I can like.
Oh, the lamp. I'm assuming that it's too late for me not to be seen. I've had bad track records of of hiding from dragons. Apparently,
Yeah,
I have a BO to me.
Apparently, you got a smell to you. Yeah, at least according to the last dragon.
I'm very much assuming that There's no way that this man hasn't already seen me. What are these trees? Here, by the way.
Yeah, they're not really like trees. There's not trees growing this high up on the mountain. They're more like sort of like scraggly bushes and shrubberies. Um,
All right. I'm assuming even on this cliff, he's still like, fuck. I'm still looking up at him.
yeah, I mean he's probably about like
Size of
the
the
cliff's
mountain.
like 15 foot, and he's probably about like 40 feet tall. So you can like see him like towering even above this like cliff line in front of you. Although he's like crouched down a little bit, like you can see basically like you saw the like blast of flame that came out from his mouth.
All right, dragon diplomacy to make him get off my friends. In Draconic, I'm gonna shout up to him. Great one of the flames, I thank you dearly for rescuing us, me and my companions, from the wrath of said giant. Though I'm sure it was not your goal in being here, but I thank you nonetheless.
Yeah, you like shout that up, and you see the dragon's like head turn towards you. And the side that you're on is the side where there's this like wicked scar that like runs down over its eye, and it just sort of like looks at you with this sort of like white like blank eye. And yeah, you can see it kind of like takes a moment to like look you over, and then you see this sort of like almost like somehow this like smirk kind of like forming on its mouth, and it says, "Well, it certainly was not my intent to save you from this situation. I was just dealing with some trespassers." I said, "and trying to find out what my servants were up to." And you can see now the airship is like landed, and there are a number of sort of like these cultists kind of like piling off, like gathering up. There's about, it looks like 10 of them in total, give or take. And yeah, he sort of like takes a, you can see he's like looking at you with this like clearly like this like blind eye, and he says, "Something about you looks familiar." And you see his like head gets like a little bit closer. You could see like down below now that you're on the cliff. You can see like Nibby like struggling to like pull something
Yeah.
out from underneath a giant that he's got like a hand on.
I feel I have been asked that quite a bit lately or something along those lines by other dragons lately. But before I talk with you more, great one of the flame, may I plead with you to remove your claw from that Jotun that you are standing upon. I believe one of my companions may be under there.
And so the dragon like looks down and now sees like Nibby amongst the charred corpses like struggling to pull something out from the giant, and he says,
Averted the attention, yes.
"My apologies." And you see he like grips in with the claw and like lifts the charred like giant's corpse up off of Alquil, who suddenly gets this like rush of air into his lungs now that he's finally able to like breathe properly. And you see the dragon kind of like looks at the charred corpse, and it's just like disgusting, and just with one arm flings it off over a ravine off to the side, and it just disappears out of sight. You can hear it like smashing against the mountainside as it falls. And yeah, Alquil, you're like kind of like pinned on the ground prone. You now see this dragon kind of like standing up at you, and it kind of like lowers its head down to like look at you more at your eye level, and it says, "My apologies. I did not know that you were underneath that thing."
I've just like lift my arm slowly, like, no problem. Thanks. And I'll
And
get up.
yeah, you can see the dragon begins sort of like studying you as well, Alquil. And then after a moment, he says, "I knew I recognized you." He says,
You were the Crystal Crusaders.
I just look out at him and just like, what?
he says, "You're the ones that dealt with that fake god to the north all those years ago."
I mean, you're not wrong, but yes.
And he said, that we should meet now. Curious. He says,
You'll notice that
"Forgive
question going on.
my manners. I have yet to introduce myself. My name is Cloth. Your kind call me Old Snarl."
Okay.
And he says, "Though many would oppose me on this, I am the undisputed king of these lands."
By lands, do you mean north? The north?
He sort of just he kind of like nods. He says, "I do not care much for the other dragons and their penchant for claiming dominion over lands." He says, "But I am the strongest among them."
I get that feeling in the back of my head that all of them would say that.
Probably.
I
one
just
is,
kind of nod along with him, though.
This dragon is quite a lot larger than the ice dragon, right?
It is.
Oh yeah,
I-
probably at
it
least
is.
twice
It
the
really
size.
is. I'm not gonna say he's not. But that's why I'm saying like I'm nodding along.
I think
You're
the only like
greater.
resident person who might know like much about dragons though is currently a Crystal. So good luck,
Yeah.
guys.
Hey, I can make a history check.
It would be more like an Arcana kind of thing.
You shake
Oh,
that crystal
I'll
like
do
an
that.
8 ball.
I'm even better at that. But yes, I like nod my head along with him, and like, indeed, you were certainly greater than some of the other dragon we have seen in the north.
Yeah, so he sort of like looks down at the giants, and he says, "These Jotun, they seem to be looking for something. I noticed them combing the lands to the south and north." He said, "What do you know of this? I would know why these East Jotun trample on my lands."
I just kind of look down at my friends
I look
down
up.
there,
I
and
look
like,
up.
do we get like a? I'm kind of like I kind of give you the look of like he did just save us.
I
He's
just
been
look.
very kind.
Uh,
He's speaking Draconic, ain't he?
hey, speaking of coding, I don't
Yeah.
understand the word of what the fuck he's saying.
Oh, then neither do I. I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, fuck.
He's rah, 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 rah. Or do that?
I'll translate.
Nope.
I'll just assume I translate for them then.
Oh,
Um,
we didn't assume that, so we don't know.
Okay. At that point, I translate for them
Fair enough.
into just common, I guess.
Why would you do any other language?
I was like, I wonder if they know Elven. And then I was thinking, I wonder if the dragon knows Elven.
Yeah, because the human and the halfling would know Evelyn, right?
Yeah, that's my other thing. But yeah, I'll translate to him. To my friends down there, by I guess yelling at them. At this point, I'll kind of like, fuck it, no, I'm gonna stay at like a relatively higher level.
Wait, have they landed the airship?
Yeah, they landed the airship.
Shit, and
And
there's people coming
there's
out.
about like 10 of these
This is your chance to fucking beat him up, Thor.
cultists.
Fucking throw him piss
Yes.
on you.
Yeah. I'm gonna do
Look
it
at-
right in front of the dragon. Just like, excuse me a moment.
I believe you said the first person to look over the railing gets his head blown off by an Eldritch Blast.
That was a ready action I did a long time ago.
Yeah, but you kind of started doing something
Yeah,
else
I
there.
Okay.
No,
Have a
I'll
minute
translate for
passed
them.
yet?
What?
Brad, has a minute passed yet?
And it's been about like we'll say like 30 seconds since like the battle ended.
Okay.
God, they landed quickly. But no, I'll translate for you guys that he wants to know
They
like,
didn't get
about the
very
giants.
far.
And if you guys don't tell me, say no, don't tell him. I'm just gonna explain to him.
I'm gonna stay silent. I'm just a big fuck off dragon.
Fair enough. I was like, yes, the Jotun here were indeed looking for something. Fuck, where's Sirik, by the way? Is he just cowering in the bushes?
No, he's in.
I mean, he's
in
with
the
us.
crystal.
He's in the crystal. No.
Yeah.
Him and Alexei are just kind of like in the bushes. Alexei's probably cowering in the bushes. I mean, that's probably
They're
what you would do.
catatonic.
Sirik is
Um,
taking her lead. All right, yeah. Indeed, they were looking for something, and what they were looking for led them to us. Sadly, well, not true. Sadly, though, it was our plan to get them to follow us. I'll say it all in Draconic, by the way.
Yeah. He says, a bold plan. Didn't seem to work out too well for you.
Indeed, we thought we could get ahead of them if we moved fast enough. We were just trying to get them away from the Dales and the Tin Towns. They've caused quite enough damage up there.
He says, a noble endeavor, if perhaps a foolish one. He says, he says, so, I take it that whatever it is they search for, you have it.
No. We have the closest thing to what they are searching for. What they are searching for is a man by the name of Artist Simber.
Now there's a name I haven't heard in an age. Simba, you
Really?
say?
Yes.
How unfortunate for them. One of the few whose gaze my eye cannot lay upon. Your giants will never find what they search for.
This is still in all in Draconic.
I mean, yeah, and like it's like the default. But I assume at this point, like Lucas is kind of translating things back.
Yeah. As I said, I'm translating at this point.
Then I'll say, I hope you understand, Carmen. That man over there, and I point to the man next to Alexei, seems to be what we determine the closest relative to Artist Simber, or I think.
Yeah, so he
Does the
looks
dragon
down.
look like he
He
understand
looks down
Common?
towards you, Nibby, and like over towards Sirik, and then like back to you. And he starts like speaking now. This time like switching to this like deep bellowing kind of like guttural comment. And he says, my apologies. It has been so long since I've spoken to one of you mortals in my own tongue. I got carried away.
That's okay.
And yeah, he sort of like looks around and says, the blood of Simber, huh? Curious. He says, well, I'm sure you know that so long as the giants search for what they cannot find, it will lead them to you. He says, it seems to me that you are ill prepared for the road ahead, paved with danger as it is.
Well, we are trying to prepare as best we can. So.
he says, and then yeah, you see he kind of like his like eye, his blank eye kind of turns away from everybody, and Lucas, you can kind of see like almost this like milky sort of like shadowy fog begin to like form within it. Um, and the dragon's like silent for a moment, and then it sort of like stops. Whatever this effect was, it like stops. Um, and then he turns back and says, "Luckily enough for you, it does not seem there are any more of these Isyoten nearby. The path to Hundelstone is clear."
Well, that's good news.
And he says, "Now." And then he turns from you guys over to this woman who is wearing these like black robes. She's like pulled her hood back, and you see she has sort of this like um, auburn red, like kind of like wavy, long red hair. And you she's just sort of like kneeling down like on the ground. And the dragon sort of like turns over to her, and he says, "For what brought me here originally," says, "I thought you wished to serve me." And the woman's just sort of like not even like looking, just like cowering essentially. And she says, we 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 were your grace, Clouth." She says, "We just I don't want to hear your excuses, Delphine." Says, "Did you not think I would keep an eye on you?" He says, "I gave you that ship specifically to search out for the hordes of those dragons I told you to find. And yet here you are, using it to harass passers-by. Did you think you could escape from my wrath?" And she says, n- n- "No, sir, I can explain." And he says, "Enough!" He says, "I did not give you that ship so that you might use it to entertain yourselves." He says, "We will return to my veil for the time being. But first, I think you owe these folks an apology." Um, and she says, yes." And you see she like turns over towards you like Nibby and Alquil, um, and she just sort of like again, she's kind of like still like avoiding making eye contact, and she says, uh, "We are truly sorry for what we have done. Honestly, I don't think Ortskus over there even knew you were there at the time." And Klaus just sort of like snarls, and she says, I mean,
I know who to shoot my
truly,
Eldritch Blast at.
truly, we are terribly sorry for any inconvenience that we have caused. Um, isn't that right?" And everyone just like, yeah, of course, very sorry." And the dragon just sort of like chuckles. "Good." And yeah, then turns back to you. He says, "I hope you will bear no further ill will towards my misguided servants."
And I'll say, certainly, he says, I was no, I don't believe we came to any harm from their end.
No. No, we did not. And they did. I kind of like do it in like a quote unquote kind of way. Assist us when the giants were here, to an extent.
No, they didn't. They tried to run away.
They shot them a few times.
Barely.
Oh yes, they did throw shit at us.
Yep.
How do you not remember that?
I even said it in the recap.
I was Scott because I was finished eating my food, so I was taking my plate over to the kitchen while you were recapping. I was just like, and then I remember Quill remembers being covered in shit and piss.
Still probably covered in it.
Still covered in it, yeah. I was just like, I was just like, so be more aware of where you're throwing your excrement in the future.
And yeah, she just sort of like nods, like afraid to like speak out of turn. Now that the dragon seems to be like taking over again. Um, and yeah, so the dragon like snarls at them and says, "You lot, return to my veil. We will speak there." And the cultists like immediately begin like funneling back into the airship, preparing to like take off. And they like do. They do that. You see the ship sort of begins to slowly like rise into the air. You can like hear the same woman like shouting orders like fire the elemental furnace, you know, uh, engage the wind propellers, and all this kind of nonsense basically, as the ship begins to raise into the air, and they like turn and begin heading off towards the south by southeast, um, and out of sight.
Now we're alone with the dragon.
And the dragon sort of like looks over you all like one more time and says, again, I apologize for my servants. He says, I assure you they will be disciplined when I get to my veil.
Your most gracious apology has been accepted. So again, I say, like, wow.
I follow his lead. Now.
And I think
And,
haste should probably wear off soon.
Yeah, probably.
You're just stunned.
Just like,
He just falls over.
He bowed too much and now he's top heavy.
Said, careful not to rely on such magic overmuch. I've heard sustained castings of it can lead to a shortened life.
did okay. It's just like I'll just lying on the ground, being like, trying to
Be
catch my
sure
breath.
to take note of that.
And he says, well, you've got a long journey ahead of you. And he says, a word of warning, perhaps, before you hit the road. He says, the Jotun. I said, do your best to avoid them. I said, their pillar has toppled, and they scramble now over their own bodies, trying to climb their way to the top. He says, you small folk are liable to get caught in the crossfire. And you see, like, spreads out his wings and, like, begins to, like, basically prepare to take off. And you all feel this, like, it's sort of like if you were standing next to, like, an airplane as it was, like, beginning to, like, take off, just like force of wind threatening to, like, blow you backwards just from the wing beats of this creature. And it sort of like roars as it like takes off, looking down at you like one last time, and it looks towards you, Lucas, and it says, tell your master to keep her grubby hands off of my treasure, and flies off.
Was that in Draconic?
Yes.
Okay.
Just kind of smile with that glint in my eyes. Treasure.
I'll get up and start walking up towards the cart and Windstrider.
Yes, so you head over, and you can see the cart is still like intact. Windstrider, it looks like when that avalanche kind of like occurred from the dragon landing, like Windstrider like moved into the way to like block a majority of the like rubble from hitting into the cart, protecting it as it were. And as you approach, you sort of you hear this you hear like the voice in your mind. It says, "It is good to see that you are okay."
Yes. Thank you, and the same to you. I pat him, use lay on hands, give him 10 hit points, and say, it's good to see that you two are okay. And good job protecting the cart.
And you see like the elk kind of like nuzzles up to you, and yeah, that's that. You guys like basically like recover everything, and I assume like take a few moments perhaps to like um
Clean the refuse off.
Yeah.
oh yeah, Alexei probably just like
You guys do.
prestidigitation. I think
See,
they
I
had
use my pearl
But it doesn't
powder
prestidigitation wear off.
spell slot.
no.
but Alexei doesn't have prestidigitation.
Oh right, she
Oh,
doesn't.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
not a real wizard.
Yeah, he's not a real wizard.
Yeah, we discussed that. I remember.
That's right.
So I just say to Sierra, like, are you okay? Is everyone okay? Look around.
Yeah, Sirk sort of says I am fine. Alexei shielded me from most of the harm. Uh,
Looks fine as well.
I got blood coming out of my ears.
he said, by the, I said, by the gods, a true dragon. Never thought I'd see the day. The size of that thing, it was even bigger than the legends say.
Would you believe me if I told you this was the second dragon I've seen in as many days?
He says, at this point, I would believe almost anything that you say, Quill. He says, I can see now why it was you folks that saved the day all those years ago.
Thank you.
Simpler time.
Yes, honestly, I'm not entirely sure how we did it ourselves.
I'm gonna cast. I'm gonna cast Cure Wounds 2nd level on Alquill. So be sure.
Oh, thanks.
Ooh, damn, nice roll. 17 hit points.
Nice.
17.
And 1st level Cure Wounds on me.
Cool, cool.
Oh yeah, you did. You rolled a
Nat 8.
8 and a 4.
Alright, so you take a few moments to recover. You guys were about halfway through this this sort of day of the journey. You are expecting to come upon Hundelstone right
Um,
basically at nightfall, towards the end of the
Question.
traveling day.
Is there
Yeah.
anything left to loot? Look like
Yes,
on the
you loot
crisp of the giant. Perhaps. Just wondering.
So you take a look over at the remaining giant. The other one was thrown into the ravine. And unless you wanted
that one I
to
gave
climb,
up
unless you want to climb down there and look,
Nah.
there's no finding anything from this one. This giant, you look, you can see much of the torso has basically been burnt to a crisp. In some places, even down to the bone, you can like see like the rib cage kind of where the flesh kind of melted off. The axe is basically like there's ash where the handle was and just like a melted lump of slag where its axe was. And looking over it, let me see here if you guys got
Touches are held at the waist.
lucky. Um 73, yeah, that's within the yeah, so there is in fact you can see the this like sort of white sort of scaly leather pouch at the giant's hip that seems to have escaped from the brunt of the flaming breath.
I go down the hill and open it.
Sure thing.
Well, I'll tell them as well as like it looks like some of the giants' belongings survived the flames.
Yeah, and we'll look.
We would cart past it anyway, so.
Yeah.
Also
So-
thinking that it might be good if they have one of those bloodstones.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. That we should.
The less they have,
Yes.
the better. I don't know if they have a limited supply or not, but who knows?
Who knows where they're getting the blood from to begin with?
Yeah, because it has to be Artis' Simbers.
Yeah, go ahead and make an investigation check.
To open a bag.
I
Oh,
assist.
to like look around for.
I triple assist.
What is y'all pluses on it?
1.
And you? Maybe?
1.
All right. I'll take this because I have +2. Hold on. There we go.
It is. Oh, nice. It is literally only like wizards that have use intellect, right? Like stack up on intellect.
Yeah, it's wizards and arcane trickster rogues and eldritch fighter knights, and artificer soon.
Very small niche.
Yeah.
Intellect is like the D-stat to dump in this edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucas. So you take like a moment to like look around, like searching specifically for like signs of this the bloodstone.
Oh
And
no, valuables.
well, I mean, you find the stuff in the bag. Like that's automatic. I'm not. This
Oh,
roll
okay.
is not for that. This
Okay.
roll is for specifically. You asked if there was like signs of the bloodstone.
Okay.
So you look around for like signs of this bloodstone on the giant that still is there. And you don't really like find anything. But as you're like kind of like looking around, you go over towards where the other giants kind of like collapsed. And you can see sort of on the ground, it's maybe about like 10 feet away from where it like fell over. There is basically just this like pool of very quickly evaporating like blackened liquid. That as you're like walking over is just sort of like steaming and evaporating essentially.
Nice.
Looks like
It
we're too late
seems
for this bloodstone.
it seems as though the dragon's breath was hot enough to melt even the
What? No way.
But yeah, so searching through the bag, the giant, they don't typically carry much in the way of money. You do find like a scattering of like coins in the bag. Let me see here. So this particular one that the bag is still intact on, has like 12 gold coins,
Alright. Add it to my account.
and like 28 silver in the bag. And let me see here. Could somebody roll me a, let's see, D4? Yeah, D4. Okay, 2.
I shall let you do that, Alco. You rolled a fucking 4.
Items.
Why do I have to be greedy? Like I just like hitting the die button, the rolls.
And also within the bag, you find what looks to be like the blade of a like a lumberjack axe, like this large kind of like axe blade, that is not giant size. Like it appears like has been ripped off the handle of
Fucking razor, ain't it?
of another blade. And you also find basically like this dented metal helm that you can see like residue inside of some sort of like basically it had contained some sort of like liquid or something of the likes. It looks like kind of like uh, stains kind of like reminiscent of like a stew or something. But it's like this dented metal pot helm.
Okay. Other than a few coins, I don't think there's much of value in here.
All right.
I say crawling out of the bag.
Well, let's be off then. We've gotten well, the bloodstone is destroyed. That is good. Let's be off.
And off we go.
Little
And
do they
off we
know, the
go.
bloodstone materializes behind them as they leave. No, I'm just kidding.
Nani?
Nani?
Nani the
Nani?
fuck?
So you guys head off down the road to continue the second leg of your journey to Hundelstone. Would somebody please roll me a d20?
I'm not doing it.
I'll do it.
A 9.
Oh my god, low's bad.
No, you don't know that.
No, I don't.
So, you continue off where you left, traveling down the trail. It's kind of like slow going. This trail like begins to like wind. You're like in the height of the mountains now. The trail is like kind of like winding through the peaks, descending somewhat into the valleys, and basically snaking its way through the mountains with as little like basically trouble as possible. It is not exactly built to be a straight path, but just like any path. And it's kind of like meandering. There are a few times where you're like traveling. It's a narrow road. There are times where you basically have to like push over to one side because you could see a caravan of people sort of coming the other way, clearly like um, leaving from Hundelstone. And they may be like as you're passing by, will sort of just like ask like how the road is up ahead. Um, and
There be dragons.
there be dragons. And basically, have like what short conversation you can as like two caravans are like meeting and passing by without stopping. Um, and the rest of the day, other than meeting the occasional traveler, um, is relatively relatively uneventful. And towards the end of the day, as like not really like night, just because of the length of the days currently um, in the summer. Sort of as like the sun is kind of like setting low in the sky, you arrive upon this large kind of like carved out area. You're still like up in the mountains. There's sort of this large uh, open area that the trail passes through. Um, and you see a number of these like small shrubs kind of clinging to life amid patches of moss-covered rock. And at first, you don't really like see, and at least those of you not used to like traveling this trail, don't really like see anything coming from this way, coming from sort of a more elevated position. But Alko, you can see the telltale signs of the roofs of the buildings of Hundelstone, perched into the mountain slopes and carved into their walls, made of hard soil and rock, um, and basically like blended into the mountains to protect from predators above and from the snows that often fall during the winter. And you have arrived at the outskirts of Hundelstone, and as you get closer, it does not take long for you to see a collection of folks milling about. Many of them appear to be dwarves. There are a few like gnomes kind of in the mix. You notice very few like humans or elves around. There are like a couple of groups where you can see they're like obviously like travelers staying here for the night. But for the most part, it's mostly dwarves and some gnomes. And as you like approach, you see this dwarf kind of uh, puts a hand up, waving to you. He's wearing sort of uh, dirty, black stained like miner's clothes, and you can see he has like a pickaxe kind of like on his back, and he says, "Hail, travelers, and welcome to Hundelstone." He says, "Fair warning to you: stoop low as you walk around town, lest you be blown away by the winds." um,
Having been through here several times before, would I know what the fuck he's talking about?
uh, yeah. So, having been through here a few times, you probably like heard the same thing. It seems to be something of like an in joke amongst the like the natives in this town. Um,
Yeah.
basically just like a funny, like they think it's
Ah.
funny and it makes them laugh, so they say it.
All right. And I'll be sure to keep them in mind. I say. Tell me, do you know where Whip Ironbottom lives?
Um, yeah, he sort of like scratches his chin. He says, I, he makes his home near the outskirts by the mine shaft. He says, and he kind of like points over and like you could see there's this like big obvious kind of like mine shaft entrance into the mine, and then he kind of like points over just a little bit, and there's a one of those huts kind of like carved into the side of the mountain slope. Um, and
Thank you.
you see there is a sign hanging above it that has this kind of like strange looking like circle. You would reckon like as a person you would recognize it as a gear, but Alquil has like no idea what the fuck that is.
No, yeah. So I see this and it's like, thank you. I look up. What time of day is it?
uh, like I said, it's basically like this is the end of the traveling day, so it's like basically nighttime. But because of the fact that it's summer and the day is like much longer, there's still like light in the sky. Like there's still people out and about.
All right, cool. I told the others. I say we go visit Ironbottom immediately.
Might as
Sure.
well.
Cool. We take aim for the mine shaft and the hut.
Yeah, so you navigate your way through the kind of winding streets of this small town, and now that you're like down in it, you notice there are a lot more like houses and structures built here than you like would have realized coming down from above. Um, it's actually like a pretty like sizable settlement for being so remote. There are a lot of the dwarves kind of like stop and like hail you as you pass. They seem friendly enough, and as you make your way over to the other side of town, doesn't take you very long. You see there is a small sort of like flame light kind of like flickering inside of the building, but the door is closed. It doesn't have windows. They don't have like windows carved in it or anything. Um, and there is basically like there is a sign hanging on the door that basically says like closed.
Well, I guess we'll go back then.
I'll knock on the door.
So you like knock, and there's a few moments, and you hear this voice coming from inside. It says "Can't you read the sign? It's closed."
Can't read.
And I say back, I says like, a friend from the from Bryn Shander sent us. Says, does the name Beldora sound familiar?
So yeah, you immediately kind of like hear basically like glass or something like clinking together, and there's this like kind of like sound from inside, and then you hear like scurrying and like the sound of like 12 locks and bolts being like turned and opened. And then you just see the door yanked open like a little bit, and you can see there's like a chain that's kind of like still intact. And you see this like one eye with this like magnifying glass contraption kind of in front of it, looking up at you from like way down below. Obviously, it's like a gnome, as you were told. And
I
he
wait.
says, "What's that? You know Beldora?"
Says, I wait. Yes. I'm Alcool Redmoon, and these my companions. Yes. You may, and I like sort of like crouch down a little. I says, and we happen to be friends with Beldora, as well as the mutual friends between there.
Now he wants to keep it a quiet thing.
Yeah, so he sort of like nods and says one moment, and then, like closes the door again, and you hear the chain unlatch and kind of fall, and he like opens the door fully, and you now see this gnome. He has this like headpiece on with a number of what look like kind of like wrenches and gears and stuff hanging off of them. This magnifying glass like in front of his eye. His face is like blackened with soot. And you can see he's holding in one hand this like smoking beaker of something or other, which he kind of like looks at and like tosses aside, and it just like smashes on the floor nearby. Um, and he like coughs a bit, like, you interrupted me in the bit of my experiment, but It's okay for friends of Eldora. Come in, come in.
My deepest apologies. Wasn't intention to disturb you as I start walking in.
Yeah, so you like walk into this place, and it is just like full of all of these things that you have just like you're like it's like a caveman walking into like a like a factory or something like that. There's just all these contraptions and machines and beakers and vials, and you have no idea what any of it is. Um, you do like recognize bits and pieces of like, oh well, that's part of something that I know. What?
As is like, I'll get straight to the point. Me and my friends are traveling to Waterdeep, and we are being hunted by giants. Eldora had a contraption that allowed her to climb onto giants and fight them on a more equal footing. She's told us that if we were to leave the Dales, we should seek you out. Perhaps you would have similar contraption.
Yeah, he sort of says Beldora told me you'd be coming seeking things by the clocks of Neverwinter. She thinks she can give away all my stuff for free. He says, I might have something of the like, but I'm still working on it. Those things aren't easy to make.
Okay.
He says,
How long do you need?
oh, he says, well, since you're here, I suppose I could stay up all night and finish it. He says, seeing as you're in a hurry.
That would be most appreciated, good sir.
He says, it's no problem. What's another night to add to the 5 I've been up already? Oh, so glad I invented this stuff. Keeps you going for so long.
What?
Just takes another drink from this like purplish, like black, like liquid in this like vial that he picks up. Whew! It really hits the spot.
Are you sure that's healthy?
I wonder
No!
what's your heart rate at right now?
He says, more than it should be, I assure you. But it's well within operating limits.
Should I do this now? Should I do it all the time? I'll do it. I needed to stay awake for now, so I'll do it when we meet with the board. So I says like, much appreciated. It's just like, if there's anything we can do for you while we are here.
And he says, well, the first thing you can do is kind of like thinks for a moment. He says, do you know much about and he says he kind of like looks over you and says, no, I don't think you do. He says well, one of my suppliers has been a bit reticent to supply me, essentially. I think it might be because I blew off his eyebrows the last time he was here. Do you think you could take this to him? And he kind of like hands this basically like this kind of like note, like stained black with soot, and he says just as an apology, and see if you can get me the powder he promised.
Certainly, I say. I take notes. Where is the supply?
And he says, oh, he's just across the road, and he points to the house on the other side of the street.
Well, this is so certainly easy. It's just like, don't worry, I should be back in moments.
And he says, please do. I need that powder. I've been working on something. He says, I've been working on something real good. Blow those giants away, it will. Probably half the town, too.
I give a concerned
that
look.
pale expression, looking at it like,
I kid. I would never blow up my own home.
Good.
Right, of course. I says, a joke. I understand. Just like, But I will be back momentarily, and I turn around and start walking out.
Yeah. So you like walk out, and he like waves and like closes the door behind you all. And yeah, you walk over across the street, and you can see this like plain sort of like it's not like directly across. You have to walk a little bit ways down, but yeah, this sort of like plain shack that's basically like just outside the mine. There are a number of like pickaxes and like barrels outside that clearly are like filled with ore. You can see smoke coming from a chimney sort of built into the side of the mountain, and yeah, there's a soft light flickering from behind the door.
Yeah. So I knock on this door.
Yep. So you knock on the knock on the door, and after a few moments, you see this gruff kind of shield dwarf emerges from behind. His beard sort of like black and like stained with like obvious like kind of like bits of like irony residue obviously. His face like blackened with soot as well, and his clothes simple like miner's attire. And he says, "What you want?" Says, "Can't
And
you see it's late?"
I was speaking Dwarven. I was just like, greetings and good evening to you, good sir. And my apologies for disturbing you. But I bring a letter of apology from your most gracious neighbor, Twin Ironbottom. And I present the note.
And so he like looks at the throne and says, "Ha! A human speaking dwarvish. Don't see that often." Yeah, he kind of like looks at the. "What's this? Iron bottom, you say?" And like now that you look at him, you can see like he has no eyebrows. As was said, he burned them off in an accident. And he said, "That bastard nearly caught my beard on fire." He says, and like looks down at it, like starts reading the note. Uh, mm, 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 mm. Kind of throws it to the side. Says, "I have got his powder for him." Says,
It's just like,
says,
right. I says like, most excellent. If you have the powder, then I'd be willing to take it over to Ironbottom to keep your beard at a safe distance from the dangers of his contraptions.
he sort of like scratches his beard and says, "Yes, that would be quite good." He says, says, "But first," he said, "before I give this over to you, he still owes me one. He says, I've got something I need you to do for me."
Of course.
I say like, well, what is it? I'm still speaking
He said,
Dwarven.
he says, "Logurk across town, the blacksmith, owes me a new pickaxe head. I ordered it a week ago. Should have been done by now." This.
I see. I says, and where is this blacksmith of yours then?
He says, "Oh, he kind of like steps out and he's like points over to a house basically like on the other side of town, which is not very far away. And you
Yes.
can see like smoke billowing similarly. And he says, right over there." And he says,
He says, do you have a note or letter or
said,
something to show that?
a note. He says, I think I have the receipt around here somewhere." He starts like rummaging through like doors for a moment before like finally pulling up this like blackened like piece of paper essentially like kind of hands it over to you.
Yes, I take note. It says like, well, I shall get you your pickaxe, head good sir.
He
I
says,
say,
right, in the meantime, I'll start packaging up Iron Bottom's order for him.
most excellent. And I turn around and start walking towards the blacksmith.
I didn't understand any of that because it was all in dwarf. I just looked at it.
Yep.
Quill was like, "Well."
So I look at this like, go find us an inn, get us a room. This probably will take a while. Say, as I look towards the blacksmith house, it's like I gotta pick up a pickaxe set for him.
Fuck, bro. Fuck that shit.
Yeah. So I start walking towards the blacksmith.
Right, so you make your way over to the blacksmith. What are the rest of the party doing? Are they following after Alquil, or are they going to going to find
I'll
accommodations?
go without. Well,
Okay.
we should never split up,
I'll just
or
go.
we should never go alone. Body system.
Buddy system.
This is
I'll take Alex then, and we'll go find him.
yeah. Alex and Sirak and Lucas goes and finds any room then.
All right, so we'll start with the one that's not going to take as much time. So Lucas and Alexei, you make your way through town towards like kind of the center, and you can see there is basically one of these like same buildings that's been built into the one of the rock faces, these like cliffs around town, but much larger. Like the entrance is double doors, and you can see like the sign of basically like this mug of ale kind of hanging above the door. Quite obviously like a tavern of some sort. And you make your way inside, and this female dwarf with this like thick red beard kind of like waves at you as you enter in, and says "Aye, welcome to the rock shelf." He says "Come in, take a seat. I'm sure you'll find one around." And you can see like looking around that basically like this place is packed with all sorts of like dwarves drinking and basically just like relaxing after a hard day at the mines.
Oh, I look out of place. I chose the Dwarf Union Tavern. Clearly. I like. All
Stories
right,
needed.
whatever though. I'll go find a fucking seat.
Yeah, you can
Dwarf
find
gonna
like
serve
a
couple
seat.
for me.
Like there's not really like a place where you can be alone. You'd probably have to like join another table, but they sort of like
Damn
welcome
it.
welcome you to like sit down, and they basically start like trying to make small talk with you. I don't know how receptive you are to it, but if you shrug them off, they'll eventually kind of like leave you alone.
I'll make small talk. I don't mind that.
Yeah, so they'll just talk like, and they don't really have anything interesting to say. They're just like, "Oh, you should have seen the size of this vein of ore I found down in the mines. It was huge." And he says, the other one's like, "Yeah, big as a dragon." um, and stupid shit like that. And eventually,
Yeah, stupid dwarf shit.
stupid dwarf shit. And eventually, like a woman comes around, a different woman. This is like a gnome. She has this like kind of like waitress outfit on, essentially. And she kind of like looks up at you and says, "And what'll you be having?"
Voices. Just fucking mug of ale. Make it cheap.
Pint of the real
Cheap.
good stuff, then.
There you go.
Says and for you, young lady. Lexi just sort of like politely like declines. And yeah, she says, "Oh, I see. Well, one pint of ale, then." Says, "That'll be 5 silvers."
That seems very expensive for a pint of ale. Can I insight that? See, that just seems very expensive.
It's the best stuff. It's the best.
It's a remote mountain
Like,
village in the middle
does
of
it-
fucking nowhere.
True.
It
I mean,
Charge
still,
whatever
that
the
seems
fuck
very
they want.
high. Or am I just thinking that? Or am I just?
doesn't really. I mean, I don't know. You don't really know much about, economics and the laws of supply and demand. Maybe it
Damn
seems
it.
high to
Fine.
you.
Fine. All right. Fair enough. I pay it.
All right, 5 silvers. You get 1 pint of passable ale.
Woohoo!
But it's a dwarf pint, so it's like twice the size of a normal one.
There you go. Might make it a little bit worth it.
Yeah. She says, "Let me know if you need anything else. I'll be around." And like goes around to go help other customers. And yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Sure. So you
Maybe
hang
we'll,
around for
there any gambling tables?
No.
No dice games going on?
No, not right now, no. At least not that you
Damn.
recognize.
No dice games I recognize?
No.
Damn, fair enough.
You think your gambling senses are tingling and you think you might see some dwarves in the corner playing something, but you like watch them for a while and you just sort of think to yourself that it's a little bit above your league right now. Like you'd have to you'd probably have to learn that one.
Oh man. Fine.
Mostly because it seems to somehow involve their beards.
Oh. I scratch at my unshaven face. It's probably scratchy. No, I'll just spend my time drinking my ale, talking to dwarfs.
All right.
Get us a couple rooms.
Sure. A couple of rooms. How many you want? Just two?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. It'll run you. Let's see here.
We'll platinum.
No.
Better rates.
No. So two rooms. For the night will be 1 gold, and 5 silver per room.
A fucking cost of 2 rooms is the cost of 2 drinks.
Yep.
What the fuck?
These dwarves, remember, they don't need to sleep so much in these rooms. So supply and demand. The supply
God.
is there, but the demand is low. But the demand for ale is high.
It's very high.
Whatever. Elvin are like,
All right, so you acquire a few rooms, acquire a drink, and just settle down, making small talk with dwarves and just hanging around. So, meanwhile, at the blacksmith, Alquil,
Eventually, I might just leave and go explore the town, but for now I'm just doing that.
Alquil and Nibby, you arrive at the blacksmith shop. You can see, although it is sort of low, the light of the forge kind of outside, and the anvil and stuff. But the main house is kind of like connected, and built into the mountain. There is a soft light kind of like flickering from within, saying it is occupied. The door is closed. And smoke is burning from a chimney.
I knock on the door.
All right, so you knock on the door, and after a few moments, it opens, and you see this kind of this dwarven man kind of starts like rubbing his eyebrow, and
His
looks.
eyebrow? He only has one?
Yeah, well, you can only see one. He's only opened the door part way, so he's like
Okay.
rubbing his eyebrow, and he's quite clearly like tired. Like you basically like came up as he was going to go to bed.
Yeah.
And he looks out and he says, what is it? We're closed. About to go to bed.
I
The
just
wife's
like,
yelling, and you just hear this voice like, "Honey, hurry up!"
That's just
Coming
like,
from inside.
I say, this is like, my apologies for disturbing you so late in the evening. Galen Dwarven, I'm speaking. It's like, but I bring a letter from, I guess towards the house that the supplier was, because I don't remember getting a name from that guy. It's like, asking if we could, asking for when the iron pickaxe he ordered a week ago was going to be done. And I gave him the letter. Note.
Yeah, he like looks down at it. He says, I remember him. He says, orders ready to be picked up. Problem is his payment. There's a bit of an issue with it. He says, don't know rightly much about it, but paid me with some newfangled thing that one of the gnomes invented. Says kind of like takes it, and like you see he's like holding this like this weird looking like sheet of paper, like colored paper, with a bunch of like words written on it, and he's like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And he says he can have his pickaxe when he gives me true gold.
I sigh. Says, right. I should bring him the message.
So, Alquill.
Yes.
I think we've gotten the point across enough.
Yes.
And you basically spend the better part of an hour
Yeah.
going from place to place, exchanging thing for thing, to eventually get the thing that you need to bring back to this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, all the
Yes.
way back down the chain to you finally get the powder that you set off for originally.
Yes. Finally. So after I get the powder, it's just like I look at Nibelung, and it's just like we shall never speak of what occurred in this place ever again.
And I look
It
at him and I say,
honestly astounds you how many people there were like in this place to like give you these stupid trade quests in such a small town.
I look at Alquill and I say, I don't understand Dwarvish.
Just count yourself up, say, it's just like these people. They apparently do not know what communication is. I don't know. I don't understand how they survive from a day-to-day basis, unless they have a stream of travelers just doing these things for them.
Yeah, they seem pretty stubborn.
Yeah.
Little do
we're
you
making
know,
our way
this
back
is
to
also just a prank that they pull on traveling adventurers coming through town.
So we're making our way back to Twip Iron Bottom.
All right, so you make your way back to Thwip Ironbottom's shop and the domicile, and knock on the door. It's like, yes! And he
just
like
like
sees
that.
you and says, Elquill! He says, took you long enough. Where's the powder?
Bring him the powder, like wave it in his nose over his head.
And
That's it.
yeah, he like waving his nose, and he's like, oh yeah, that's the good stuff. I can smell it.
Yes, I was like, I had to trade. I had to go. The supplier needed a new iron pickaxe. A new iron. The blacksmith needed gold. And I just started listing all the fucking things that were done in order to get this fucking powder back to him. How do you people survive?
Yeah, so he takes the powder. He's just like, sounds like they got you good.
I looked down at him. I just looked down at him. Just like, explain.
He says oh, it's you know, maybe tomorrow. He just shuts the door.
I will put my hand against the door to keep it open.
He says, well, you see, when Baldara told me somebody would be coming, I've been really bored here. I just thought maybe we could have a bit of fun. I thought you adventuring types liked getting quests. So don't look at me like that. Cheer up. He says, I am building for you the greatest giant slaying weapon that has ever been built by this gnome's particular hands.
Better fucking be.
Yeah, he sort of like looks at the powder and says, oh, this will make a good explosion.
I'll talk to you tomorrow, Twip. And I remove my hand from the door.
He closes the door.
Now you gotta go find the correct inn that Lucas found.
There's only one inn in town.
I look at Alquill and like, that man worries me.
Yes. I don't think Hundelstone is going to be here when we return. When I return, I say.
Indeed.
All right, so I assume you two head to the
Yes, we head for
local inn.
it.
you meet up with Lucas, who has gotten you rooms, and I assume camp there for the night.
Yes.
And we'll just go ahead and go through. You guys finish your long rest, and dawn the following morning breaks, and you can hear the chanting of the dwarves as they make their way to the mine shafts early in the morning. The pounding of drums, the the singing of
Is
songs.
it a musical?
Yeah, it's a musical number. Obviously, everyone knows when dwarves go to the mine, there has to be some sort of like song that they sing on the way.
Hmm. The one people who loves working.
Yep. Well, we head off after getting breakfast. I will head off back to Iron Bottom
Yep.
and knock on his door.
You knock on the door, and again hear sort of like banging and clattering from inside as he like scrambles over to the door, unlocks the 12 different locks and latches that hold the door in place, finally like opens the chain, and like kind of like pulls it open and says, welcome to Iron Bottom's oh, it's you. He says,
Yes, it is us.
yeah, and you
Is it
look
not?
down at him, and the magnifying glass is like in front of his eye, and you just see this like big blown up like bloodshot eye in the magnifying glass.
Yep.
And he says, like I said, I worked all night just to get it done, just for you. He says, sorry about our little joke. He says, listen, it's just a bit of fun, right?
Yes, of course, of course.
Yeah, and he like scrambles up. One moment. Um, and like begins sort of like rummaging around through, basically like all of these like knickknacks and contraptions that are lying around, and eventually he pulls up this sort of don't really know how to explain it basically. It looks sort of like this contraption made from different pieces of adventuring gear. You see like bits and pieces of like a climbing harness, um, like these like cleated boots, clawed gloves, and he has in his hand this like big heavy crossbow, with this like grappling hook basically like hanging from the end of it. There's what appears to be this sort of like thin, um, looks to be like an elven made like silk rope that kind of runs through the length of the crossbar and then like down around the harness, um, and he basically like shows this to you, and he says, here it is, this is well, I will say it's a bit of a prototype, but should be good to go. Probably won't explode. I don't think so. There's no powder in there, so he says, here, let me show you how to get. And he starts like struggling to try to like help you put it on. He says,
Yeah.
can you come over by the table?
I walk in.
Yeah, you like walk in, and he leads you over to the table and starts like brushing junk off of it, like climbs up and like says, turn around, and like begins like this like basically like this almost like 20-minute long process of like strapping this like harness onto you, and like put the gloves on like this, and press this thing here, and it like connects the gloves up to the harness, and like basically this you're like suiting up with this like strange device, and at the end of it you are basically like you have this like harness on. There's a rope that leads up to this crossbow in your hands. You have like clawed gloves on, these like cleated boots. It was like a lengthy process to get this thing on. But he starts like beginning to basically like explain this thing that he has given you. And you now have this. There you go.
Oh, here, Iron Bottom's giant Killnator Mark IV prototype.
What happened to Mark 3, 2, and 1?
I don't talk about those ones.
I don't know
There
why
were
I'm laughing.
some problems in the field.
This can
With
actually.
with the product or
So
the
we only have one of
visitors?
those, right?
Yeah, it's only one of them.
Oh,
You only had time to make one.
How long would it take you to make a second one, or more of these?
And he says, well, like I said, this is a bit of a prototype endeavor. It takes a long time to get all of the disparate supplies. He said, plus a bit of a trade secret. He says there's a bit of magic involved in getting it all to work together properly. He says, I honestly can't say. It takes a long time. He says, but I'm working on something else. Said on the side in the meantime. Maybe if you check back.
At what? I'm sorry, what?
He says, I'm working on another invention. He said, it'll take a while, but if you check back sometime within a month or so, might have
Right.
something else for you. Mm-hmm.
Well, if we are in the area in a month, perhaps. Well, thank you anyway, I say. Thank you ever so much. And I clasp him on the shoulder. And I will spend 5 of my lay on hands points to cure a poison or disease that is currently affecting this.
So you do that. He's like, what's that? You feel? Oh, really? And he just like collapses onto the floor. Starts like snoring heavily.
Yes. So it's just like he obviously needed that. And I turn around to the others and it's like, well, we have the device. If we're here a month's time, then perhaps we will.
I doubt we will be.
I doubt we will be it as well. It says. But I look at this. Let's get going then. We still have a long way to go. Quest complete.
Question mark?
is Windstrider always going to be here?
I was just like, yes, Windstrider is always going to be here.
Can you have only one Windstrider at a time, or?
And I was just like, yes, there's only one Windstrider. There's just like there's only one Nibelung.
Oh. Well, just because I've never met another Nibelung doesn't mean there isn't one.
No, but I mean, there's only one you, right? There might be other people named Windstrider, other people named Nibelung, but there's only one Nibelung. I guess it would you.
You're making very little sense.
Let's just get on with this. Also, yes, thanks for reminding me to change my prepared spells.
Yes. Prepared spells.
There you go.
All right. So. God, my throat hurts.
I can imagine.
No, nobody's forcing you to do these voices.
I am.
So, new adventure.
You're your own worst enemy.
All right, so you all awake in the following morning, rested and refreshed. You leave out first thing in the morning and attain the giant Killinator Mark IV prototype. Probably won't break. Maybe.
Claw goes, a grappling hook, a heavy crossbow. Right, I'll just start attuning to this thing.
Yes.
It's cool.
And yes, there is like you could tell basically like just holding it, like there is some sort of like magical like presence essentially to it that has been like instilled within these items. This is more than just like putting them together like in the way that he has. There's definitely some like magical binding to get it all to work together.
He's using 40k orc magic to keep it all from Just believe, and it works. The moment you start questioning the sciences, it falls apart.
Yes. So, good thing is it's all over Alquil's head anyways.
Yes.
So, yeah, you guys basically like first thing in the morning, where do you, I suppose, I mean, you've headed down the rest of the pass. It's really only going to take a little bit of the day. I assume your next destination is going to be heading up towards Iron Master.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. Unless there's any objections.
Ain't got nowhere else closest.
Sounds like a plan. Very well. So, and basically, from like this point on, now that you've reached Hundelstone, this is where our those new sort of like travel rules are going to come into effect. You're going to be traveling for long spans potentially. Basically, the gist of it is that what was a long rest is going to become a short rest, and basically like long rests can only be done like in towns, and yeah, just kind of like makes it a bit easier on me to not have to throw crazy long stupid encounters at you on the road to make them relevant. Um, Just good news for everybody. So,
Yes.
let us be off then. Um, the journey to Iron Master, or at least to the outskirts of it, where you were told to wait for Ogrek's like clan members, is going to take about 2 days. Like a day to get down to the crossroads, and then like a day to go far enough down the trail to get to where she said um, uh, like many years basically began. Um, Let me go ahead and do this before I forget. So, as you begin traveling down the pass, would somebody please roll for me a d20?
Damn, could you have done that any faster?
All right, so traveling down the pass is a little bit easier than traveling through it. You're entering now into the sort of like wide, open kind of like taiga, like tundra-esque plains that are at the base of the other side of the mountain. You sort of like about halfway through the day come across a crossroads where you can see there is a sign that basically has like three prongs to it. The one that there's one pointing basically back the way you came. It says like Hundelstone and Icewind Dale. There is one that kind of points. It is about all said and done. We'll say like 35 pounds.
35. Okay.
There's one that points to the south that says Fire Shear Iron Master. And then there's one that kind of points off to the southeast that just says Luskin.
Two Luskin.
No, Iron Master.
Two Iron Master.
Iron Master.
All right, so you begin heading
Uh,
down the fork that leads sort of southwest-ish. And
Right, I'm going to start stashing a few things into the party inventory, which is the cart,
which is the card.
because I'm above carrying capacity.
I thought he was talking about me and my bag of holding.
Oh, is that the party inventory? I can edit the party inventory.
I mean, I don't know. If you wanted to be a card, I don't mind.
I think the party
Yep.
inventory was just like basically just a cart of shit that you guys had.
Yeah. I'm gonna start. Let's.
While he's doing that, would somebody please roll me 1d100, please? Thank you.
I need editing rights of the party inventory.
Do you not have it?
No.
I rolled an 11.
3.
You've killed us.
Good job, Lucas. Da, 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 da. Okay, my clothes are done.
All players. There we go. All right, so 11. Let us see here. Yes.
That's
Interesting.
the death one.
It's in the middle of the summer, so I'm gonna drop my heavy winter clothing, extreme winter gear.
Okay.
Oh, we have 70 rations in there.
Can each of you give me a perception check?
Sure.
We all know how well this went last time. It's still an 11. I didn't mean to roll a
Yep.
advantage. I haven't taken it off. That investigation check.
All right, so as you're traveling down past the this like halfway mark, and down towards where you're told the other fork is, basically. Nibby, you notice this from like the furthest away, essentially. Up ahead on the road, there is what appears to be a like large group of people. It's hard to get an exact count from your distance, but they seem to sort of be not like on the road, but like sort of to the side of it. And you notice that um, they seem to be kind of dressed in not like typical like traveler's clothes like you've seen. They're dressed more in kind of like furs, and uh, you think you can see like some of them have these sort of like antler head dresses, and they seem to be sort of like gathered around up ahead. Um, like I said, you can't get an exact count of them, but they don't look like travelers. Um,
Gathered around something, or
Well, they seem to be like gathered around. You can't really tell if they're gathered around something or just generally gathered around. But there's quite a few of them like waiting sort of to the side of the road. Um, they're sort of down in this like there's basically like this little kind of like divot along the side of the road, and a number of them are sort of like crouched down in there, like looking up at the road.
guys, there's a large
Yeah.
group of people down there that seems to be waiting for either us or just people traveling down the road. They're wearing some kind of antler head dresses.
Hmm.
Could I summon my longsword
You can.
in a discreet manner? Is there like I don't know if there's any places like where I could hide a sword right now.
Not really.
But I was
Like
thinking
swords.
under the bench is the thing.
Swords are kind of like kind of a bit tricky to hide.
hmm
And as far as like under the bench, I don't know if this cart really.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
I don't think this cart is like high enough quality to basically like have a compartment under there or whatever. Like the bench is just like basically like nailed onto the front of this cart.
Yeah. All right. Then I don't know. I'm gonna summon a longsword and you know just hand close to the shield if needed.
Sure thing. Yeah, and like Nibby points out all of these like folks gathered around, and you all see them now. They are basically like directly ahead on your path. They seem to be like there, and you like watch them for a bit. And they don't really seem to show any sign of moving soon.
Should we stop and hail them?
How many? How many? Okay, I couldn't count it, but I
Yeah,
mean,
you can't
several
really count it until you get closer.
dozens.
But
Looks
how do you have it like an
probably-
estimate? Like
looks
just like
Probably
does it
in
look
the
like-
range of like maybe 10 to 20.
Okay.
A big range.
that's a lot of people.
It's more than one, less than 100.
I mean, if
More
this is
than
gonna be
one,
some
less
weird
than the
ambush,
population of this continent.
if this is some type of ambush, I'd rather like stop here.
I mean, that looks like a pretty shitty ambush, if you ask me.
I mean, I didn't see them.
Well, you will when I've pointed them out.
Do they know? Does it look like they have seen us as we have pointed them out?
They were looking down the road towards us, so I mean, we are on a cart with a celestial moose and yeah.
What is the range of the Iron Bottom's giant Killinator?
It's like the standard range of the
Heavy crossbow.
I thought I wrote that in there. I guess not.
Whatever.
No, it's half
That's,
half the
just-
range of the heavy crossbow.
Half the range. Okay.
Either way, I suggest we don't ride up right onto them in case it is some type of shitty ambush.
200.
Yeah, probably at this point you probably like see a few of them like break off and begin to like move around.
Yep, we're stopping. I pull up the ring.
All right, so you stop the cart.
And it's like, fuck, I guess in common I'll shout out, is there perhaps something we can help you all with? No need to be hiding in the bushes.
Yeah, so you sort of like shout that out, and there's like no response for like a bit, and then you see you hear this sort of like yell in this like strange sort of it's like this kind of like I suppose like the nearest analogy would be sort of like this mix of like German and Celtic essentially, and
Achtung!
Does it sound familiar? Oh shit! Does it sound familiar?
maybe uh
I just like heard antlers. I'm like, oh god, it's gonna be the antler trad people again.
and basically this like
Roll initiative.
tribe of warriors like starts charging at you with a battle cry. Let me go ahead
Wow! Look at it be an ambush.
Oh no!
We
How
never
could we
saw
have
it
possibly seen
coming.
this coming?
You never see it coming.
never would have seen it coming. Alright,
Da,
let's see.
da, 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 da.
Let's
Guys, I gotta say,
see.
that's some impressive shit
You got
right
a battle
there.
map or no?
Yeah, I'm working on
All right.
it's just
20 people!
My token now.
That's a lot of actions against us, boys. I hope you have an Alex companion card.
mm,
I don't.
Well, can we
Sounds like
move
that.
Sirik at least to one of
I
us?
thought he would have been here by now. Yeah, you can reassign Sirik.
All right, who wants Sirik?
I'll
Not
go
me.
ahead, Derek.
You'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right.
Or did you say you wanted it?
I don't
Or-
give a shit. I have my sword out, so I'm going melee now.
Yeah, it's just like I don't want to do it because I'm gonna eat shit.
So
Can't you
yeah,
fight
and
instead
I'm
of
going
eating
melee as well. That's right.
Should we take a short break? If it's like
Sure,
2
we can-
hours from the normal start. But
We could take a
Since it's
short
going to
little
be a
break
big
while
fight.
I get this fight set up.
all right.
Maybe James will show up. All right. We will
If
be
not, we can
right
just
back
use a
then.
standard, like I guess, retainer for him.
By the time we get back, I want to Wait.
Where's Mr. Strider? No, she was talking. I'm changing it.
Let us return. So you guys basically see these warriors. They saw you. You saw them. The cover was blown, so they just called for the attack. And you all see basically these warriors rise up, and many, like I said, they're wearing like kind of like these furs, and many of them seem to have decoration of these sort of like black raven feathers kind of uh, on their person. Some of them sort of like on the shoulders or in their headdress. And they have like these sort of like black tattoos on their face, these like black tribal tattoos. And they all seem to be sort of wielding like spears, like these crude wooden spears, as they charge into battle.
Excuse me. Sorry.
And I will get my
I forgive you.
battle. Battle.
Ah,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
We got this.
It's... Oh, sheet. Sheet, why do you lag? Why you have lag?
So we each got to take 5, and there will be 1 left over for the elk to take.
Don't worry, it's once per encounter we can cast Fireball.
Yeah, just commit war crimes. It's fine. Alquill.
I mean, they're attacking us. Okay, Alquill. They're a bit far away. One clumped up a little bit more. I shall get off the cart and step up here. And I guess I'll just ready an action to yeah, I'll just ready an action to green flame blades. If there's two people who's going, like if there's two enemies coming close enough to me to like stand next to each other and be hit by both.
Sure. Nibby.
Habla, habla. What's the width of this? Width. Only 10 feet. Shite. I'll move a little bit. 25. And what's the distance here? I'll 20-yard range. Are these 3 10 feet?
Look, James is typing.
Yeah, I will aim
Oh, look.
I will aim a tidal wave on these 3. So it hits for 10 feet in width.
Okay.
And it moves like 30 feet. So I'm putting it like here and moving it downwards towards them.
So it's basically like a 10-foot by 30-foot.
Yeah, and it like moves for 120 feet. So cast that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so 30 foot long, 10 feet wide, 10 feet tall. So those 3 basically.
Yes.
We'll all make a dexterity saving throw. Yes. As this like wave of water sort of is conjured forth. So we'll start. We'll go clockwise around from there. 1, 2, 3.
Oh yeah.
They all fail. So you deal 19 points of bludgeoning damage, of bludgeoning damage. So this wave is like conjured forth, and you see these warriors that were charging forward towards you, like see this wave and begin to like turn and run as it sort of like washes down, crashing into them, smashing them into the ground and just sort of like sending them scattering away. And these ones are all toast.
Nice. And give me a moment. Challenge
Wow.
rating 1.
Just fucking murdered him.
Yeah, they're not gonna have a little HP, I think.
Exactly. And I will beast shape into a brown bear.
All right. Let me find a brown bear. Sure. Brown bear, black bear. What's the difference? It's a token.
I need a bear.
Just any bear.
Yes.
I think there's still a medium. Or are they the large one? I think they're the large one.
The brown bear is
large, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Bergbraunicke.
There is bear nibbling. What's their average hit points? Their average hit points is 34. Cool. And then you just stay right there.
Yes. I moved my
Very good.
things.
So, the greens,
Green.
they come charging into battle.
One.
So those two.
Yes. Fucking green flame bladed. So I'll be hitting the guy who came up first and like bouncing off to the other guy.
Nice. Or well, 6 damage isn't due.
It's
Impressive.
6 slashing damage, and then he takes an extra 4 fire damage to that target, and 9 fire damage to the other guy.
Alright, so, whoops. That is not enough to kill either of them, but it does heavily wound both of them. And then those two are the only ones. The other two had to like dash to get up around you, but those two only have to move 30 feet. So they are both going to attack you, doing so with advantage as they fight together.
Fuck their pack tactics.
So spears coming at you in 2 hands.
Crit.
The first one, an 18, I believe, will miss. And then the second one, they basically have to crit to hit. Also misses. So they both miss. And then we have Lucas. You can see that Elko has very quickly become like basically surrounded by all of these tribesmen.
Alright, sword and shield out. I'm gonna... What's my... Alright, yeah. Run up to this one. But over here instead. And bonus action. Hex.
Yeah, which one are you hexing? The one next to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gotta find the hex button.
Hex.
There it is.
Brad, let's go BRB.
Hmm?
Brad is BRBing because see that he's left his computer.
Oh, awesome. So guys, we have complete free reign.
He's back.
I was just grabbing a book.
Okay.
Nerd.
Let me make sure I do the versatile longsword. I mean the not versatile longsword. Alright,
I
there
have
it is.
this on the right page.
So first attack on him does 14.
20.
6. It does what?
20.
Yes. Or it did do 20 damage, yes.
Right, you
Thank you.
run him through with the sword.
And then I take a step forward. And second attack.
Okay.
And I'm also... Wait, it's a bonus action again to move it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So... Pack longsword. It takes 8.
8. So you cut through this this man. He falls to the ground, bloody. Take a step forward, drawing your blade out from him, and swing at this woman in front of you. And she quickly holds up the spear to deflect the blow, but your blade slices across and down her arm, dealing a hefty blow, but not finishing her off.
Clearly you all chose the wrong to attack.
Right, so
Stare down
then,
at her with the one eye.
it is the blue guys.
Blue.
Dabba die. They don't really. I mean,
Oh no!
Oh no, they have us surrounded.
Those poor
no,
bastards.
I say, chuckling.
Yes.
Man. Brad, we need to homebrew a claw lock.
no,
A
'Cause
what?
I really want to fucking play a claw lock.
it's some old shit, man.
We need to homebrew it, okay?
A warlock that claws people?
It's in the old days it was a warlock that used their Eldritch Blast as a claw attack
Claw
instead.
attacks instead, yeah. Okay, so they pretty much all had to dash, so none of them get attacks.
We'll make it a fucking one of those I words that warlocks get. I can't remember the name of.
Invocations.
Invocations. I kept wanting to say invoices.
What's this?
Invoices.
That or like improvisation. God, what? I see all these arrows going.
Lots of arrows, yep.
Well, this is it, Alquill.
We're surrounded.
We're at it again.
So, one of them runs up to the bear and is going to attack.
Moo.
Moo?
I don't know what bears make sense.
They make loud roaring noises. So, against the bear... Oh, like...
I think no matter what, yeah. I got 11
hits
AC.
for 3 points of damage to the bear. So basically nothing. And then
31.
one of them lifts its spear, this one kind of here, and throws it at Lucas.
Do I get any cover from his companion?
No, he's kind of
Okay.
at an angle so he can get it through.
They know what's up. They have pack tactics. They're used to this.
So with advantage. Ooh, a critical strike.
An automatic hit. Can't even do anything for it.
8 points
does
of piercing damage as the spear comes from the side. You weren't really expecting it, surrounded as you were by all these warriors. You just feel this sharp pain in your side and look down and see this spear sticking out. And you look over at the one that threw it at you.
Wouldn't have happened if I had my claws.
And do you have one of the companions?
No.
No.
Okay, cool. And the other one had to dash, so that's it. Then it's Windstrider.
Yes.
Elk noises intensify.
Elk noises intensify. I think he will disengage. And
Pulls the wagon.
disengage and just walk a little bit up here.
Sure. All right, and then we're back around to Alquil.
Once per encounter, fireball! And I'm gonna, because if I remember, a fireball is 20-foot radius, right?
It is, yeah.
So I'm going to put it here so that it will hit these fine people over here. Fireball. How many d6s is that?
Holy fuck.
Oh no, the compendium. The error has occurred in the compendium.
It's 8d6. So like that.
86.
Probably.
Yeah, there.
All right, roll the damage.
8d6.
Hot dog.
31.
They all die.
That one. That one.
If anyone has less than 15 HP, they can't survive.
That one. That one.
We could have looted them. Now they're scorched.
Ah shit, I forgot to add the extra 10 points from Alexei last time. Oh well.
And that one.
Okay.
All die in this blazing inferno.
Can I use both for encounter ability and round ability on the same round or no?
No. I'll say it's
No.
gonna be one or the other.
Alright, cool. I'm going to
Just because her encounter ability is relatively powerful.
yep. So I'm going to slash this guy. And with a green flame blade, hopefully bounce it over to that guy as well. 9!
Nope, you swing wide and the tribal warrior ducks out of the way.
Alright. That's me turn.
Nibblelunga. Nibby.
Alright. Bear attack. Multi attack. I will start with a bite. It is a plus that much. It's 16.
16 does in fact hit.
And it is a 1d8 plus 4. 7 damage.
7. You bite hard into this warrior, gouging out a chunk of flesh, but not finishing them off.
And it's multi attack, so I can make one
Yep.
claw attack as well.
Go for it. Get him.
1d20 plus 5. 19. Plus 4, I believe, still.
19 hits. That will be enough to finish this one off. You just rake it across with your claws, carving a deep gash in their torso. And causing
And I
them
go
to
moo, and then I
fall to the
go
ground.
down to this. Actually, I go to like this square, so I'm in between these orange people.
Sure thing.
And yeah, that's it.
Alright, so this is green. So there's 2 of them still alive. Both of them, like, seeing this blast of flame basically tear through a good, like, half of their companions, their warriors, their friends, are both going to turn to the source of that. Alquil, you start, like, imposing yourself in the way, so they both thrust their spears at you. First one, a 21,
Yes.
strikes into you for 8 points of damage, getting through your shield. The second one misses.
Miss.
You manage to deflect it out of the way. I believe that is all that is left of the green. So, Lucas.
Bonus action, switch my hex to this one.
'Kay.
And I'm gonna longsword it.
Just gonna start getting these out of the way.
For, what was that, 14 damage.
14. That one is dead.
All right. Destroy the action economy. Go to the one down here.
Okay.
Or 11.
That will finish that one off.
Awesome.
And then that's my turn.
Two blues.
All right. This one shouts at you in its sort of strange language, and comes running with fury in its eyes as he takes his spear and thrusts it towards you, Lucas.
Yes. Big ol' miss.
Got a miss.
Batted aside with the shield.
All right. And then the one behind. Let me see here. There's a good chance it's probably gonna go. Yeah, so it's going to go against the source of this foul magic. This terrible sorceress. So you, Alquil, get attacked as a result.
Yes.
But it misses.
It misses.
Yeah, this guy. He's just gonna stab the bear.
No. Ow! Meow!
God damn it.
They are proficient bear killers.
Yeah, I mean they're
Little
they're
did we
hunters.
know.
So the bear takes 12 points of damage. Is the it like you're like trying to like maul this this tribal warrior, and they just sort of duck out of the way and jab into your soft underbelly. I assume Windstrider is just kind of backing away still.
Nope. Windstrider is going to charge him now.
Oh,
It's going to charge against this blue person and to try to ram him.
Is there a disadvantage because he's attached to a fucking cart?
Sadly misses.
okay, misses. Unfortunately, the weight of the cart kind of interferes with his normal ramming pattern.
Bad, and he's also tied with Bella.
Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward situation. Alquil.
Alquil shall now attack normally. I'm going to target the. I'm going to target the green hurt one.
Okay.
I assume he dies.
So you, yes, run her through, coughing
Yeah.
up blood.
And I turn and like attack the blue one behind me.
All right.
15. Does 15 hit?
15 does hit.
All right. I will use Alexis' round to add another 10 fire damage to that one. So 7 slashing and 10 fire.
Slice into them, causing them to stumble backwards. They like bump into the elk behind them, like turn to face it, and then you watch Alexei just sort of conjure forth this bolt of flame, throwing it into their back and just immolating them.
Poof.
She just sort of says, "Good one, Alquil."
I give her like a nod before turning back to the last remaining ones.
She sort of looks smug. I'm so great. Nippy.
Damn, I thought James was here for a second.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do the bite and the claw attack at once on this guy. So that's both 11 to hit, but I'll roll
We'll
the
go for
d4
8.
from Cyric.
Both for 8. It's 3 plus 5. Remember.
Oh, okay, I fucked up. Okay, roll 1d4.
Very certain
No.
it's impossible for you to hit them.
So it's plus 2 on each, so it's 10.
Neither of those hit.
Oh, that's amazing. I'll just move. I can't go into this. Actually, I'm a large creature, right?
Yeah.
If I move to this square, I want opportunity attack the orange guy.
Yeah, no.
I'll just move there. And I'll hiss at him.
It's bear.
He's
It's the
confused about what type of animal he
It's just
is.
the weirdest bear ever. Maybe he doesn't transform much. It's like, yeah, it's just weird. Lucas.
Bonus action, send my hex over to him, the blue one.
Sure thing.
Fucking pack longsword, swing down at it for 10 damage.
Yeah, so this warrior that's charged at you, fire and rage burning in his eyes, you just sort of coldly look at him as you just run your sword through his gut, pulling it
Fucking
out,
last thing he
spilling
sees
his
is the
lifeblood.
dragon eye staring at him. And then I walk over here.
And he falls to the ground, like laying a hand upon the woman next to him as his life fades.
Last one. I fucking walk up
Alright,
to
you
it.
run up, sort of sword in one hand, and just lop off their head. Cold, merciless,
Efficient.
efficient.
I catch the head in my mouth.
Nothing like a little genocide to start the day.
We don't know if
And
this was all of them.
I gave him a chance to not to talk.
To not die.
Yeah, I gave them the chance. They sealed their
And,
own fate.
And with
Are you
that,
sure you want to do this? Yes, we're disposable NPCs.
I will proceed to start looting.
all right, so you begin looting through the bodies, and quickly come to find that none of them possess any sort of trappings of wealth or society upon them. They are tribal warriors. They have not more than their fur clothes and sort of
How much
ragged
do you
wooden
think those would
weaponry.
sell for?
Nothing. Nobody wants them. They're covered in blood and burned horribly.
Fuck! Pull out the spear out of my side. That's kind of fucking shit. An elven. So, we ready to continue?
Yes, let us be off. To Iron Master, or to the first signpost of Iron Master.
Yes. So this happens about like halfway through the day. You continue to spend the rest of the day traveling down the road further, and eventually, sort of towards the end of the traveling day, towards your the end of your 8 hours of traveling, you come across another kind of like intersection in the road with three branches, one of which is the one you're coming from. There is a
Mhm.
signpost in the road, one of them pointing to the north and west that simply reads Iron Master. It is written in both Common and Dwarven. Um, there is one that points towards the southwest that says Fire Shear, and then there is lastly a branch that points back the way you came that says like Hundelstone, Icewind Dale, Luskin, basically.
Right.
Turn north.
To the north, to Iron Master.
All right.
Oh.
However, it is the end of the traveling day, so
Sure.
Just-
unless you wish to push further, this is as far as you will get for the day.
Now we'll set up camp.
Yeah,
So looking around, you can see you have arrived at this crossroads, and you're looking around for a place to camp, and you can see that there is sort of off the road a little ways, kind of towards the direction of Iron Master, this towards the northwest, settled in amongst the hill. This what looks like this ruined building, essentially. It has this large, sort of open, arched entranceway, which once upon a time probably held like a door or some sort, but has since like rotted away or been stolen or something. And it's like a pretty large like structure, although much of it is like crumbled and ruined. You can see there's evidence that there was once like beautiful carvings along the outside of it, but have since been like defaced or worn away by time. And inside, you can see there is evidence of many camps having been set here before. Seems a popular grounds for camping, given that it's surrounded like enclosure. And not open to the wilds around. Seems a suitable enough place to set a camp.
Might as
Alright.
well.
We'll set up camp here in the obvious trap spot camping.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And that's when the ground just gives away underneath, and we fall down into the abyss and are captured by Drow. And oh no, we're out coming out of the abyss now.
Oh man.
I'm not worried. We'll get a dragon save us.
We can't rely on dragons to always save us.
Watch me.
We can and I shall.
And this is why Alex and Alquill are the only ones who survived the first campaign.
Yeah, but you take a moment like as you're setting up camp to look around, and like I said, there are a number of like carvings, many of which have been defaced. But they are like the ones that remain are still like pretty intricate and well preserved. It definitely doesn't. It's not common. It definitely doesn't look dwarven either. There's something about it. Like these carvings are quite large. And you settle down, like set up your camp, and I presume begin to take your watches for the night.
Yes.
Who would like to take the first watch?
I'll do middle again.
I'll take first watch.
Then I assume our good friend Lucas will be the last.
Yes, I'll be the one to protect us at the end of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, comforting.
Yeah, so Alquil, the night begins. Everybody else sort of beds down inside of the tent that you erect within this large ruined structure. Why don't you go ahead and give me a perception check as the night begins?
I don't see shit.
um, Yeah, so you're kind of like stood at the entrance, kind of keeping a watch out into the dark moonlit night. You can see the stars kind of shining brightly in the sky up above, and it's just sort of like you're sort of stricken by these sights, just like the beauty of nature, sort of in its full glory before you, unspoiled by the hands of man. And it's just sort of like you just find yourself in this like serene kind of experience, and begin to pay less and less attention to your surroundings,
Yeah.
as the first few like hours of the night while by, um, and then like a few like we'll say like an hour or so goes by. Um, you could sort of see like off in the distance what looks like sort of like twinkling lights in the sky, like quite a ways off. Not stars. It looks like sort of like the flickering of flame or something of the likes. Um, Somewhere off towards like the southwest. Um, and so, like all of a sudden you are snapped out of your sort of like trance that you basically had entered, when the ground around you just begins to rumble, as like what sounds like thunder quickly like approaches, but you see not a cloud in the sky.
I was just kidding. I didn't mean actually mean the ground needs to open. All right, so I will quickly look around and I'll wake whoever is closest to me.
Yeah, so you like rush around and wake up, we'll say Nibby.
Yeah. All right, so I wake Nibby, and it's just like, Nibby. And it's like,
What?
do you hear that? And it's like,
You
wait
just
for a
hear
moment.
this like loud, like rhythmic sound of what sounds like thunder and the ground like rumbling.
Yeah. Sounds
Just-
like.
I look around, like I can't see where what it's coming from.
Is it continuous or is it like?
It continues for a bit and then it like stops. It seems to be coming from somewhere outside of the walls of these ruins. Um, and then a few moments pass and you hear this sort of like deep bellowing like voice essentially speaking in giant. So Alquil, you would understand.
I do as well.
Oh, you also speak giant? Okay, so you both understand what is being said, and you hear this deep bellowing voice on the other side of the walls that says, uh, you hear like the sound of something being like scraped away on the outside of the walls,
Mhm.
and the voice just says, "The ruins here. There is treasure hidden. Countess Sansuri wishes us to find it. Let us take a look." And you hear another voice that says, "Very well, but let's make this quick. We've got to get back to the castle." And then the rumbling sort of picks up and begins heading towards the door.
Um,
Go back to sleep. I'm sure some dragon will take care of this.
what? No. It's just like I will try to like look out to see if I can see the source of the voice.
I kick Lucas and like
Ow! What?
So
He
Lucas
was
is
not
kicked
quiet
away.
about that. I was just kicked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
no.
ahead and give me a perception check, Alco. As you kind of like sneak around and try to like find an angle to like look out at these voices. No, so you like sneak around, like you spend a while like trying to like sneak around, like where's a good spot where I can see out to not be seen. And as you look out, whatever these figures were are just disappearing around the corner, and you don't catch a glance of what they were. But you do still hear this sort of like rumbling, and the ground is shaking. Lucas, you now like also realize like as you're woken up, like the ground is shaking beneath you, with as these like rhythmic bangs of thunder go off.
Damn it! Summon my fucking longsword. What the fuck did you guys do?
I don't know, it's giants, man. It's not like we summoned them.
Some more giants?
They were speaking giants at least. I don't know. Did you see anything, Alco?
And I say like I look down on it like I saw a few gigantic figures just disappearing into the darkness. And I says like they scraped something on the wall.
You said something about runes, right?
I says, yes, they said also something about the Countess Sanshuri, I believe.
And a castle?
And a castle, yes. There's treasure inside the ruin.
Does the name Sanshuri ring any bells to anybody?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
I will light a torch, and I will walk outside and look up at the ruin, like hold the torch up towards the side where they were, I heard a scraping from, to see if I can see.
All right. So you like light the torch and begin walking over towards the entrance. As you do, the like thundering stops. And as you like walk out around to like investigate, you see one of the giants turns and sort of looks over, is like basically like pointing and says, "What's that light?" And
Wait, I
just put the torch on the ground, like stomp on it, stomp it out.
Yeah. And you caught like a quick glimpse basically of the sort of like almost it sort of looked like this like pale grayish white skinned giant wearing like an equivalency of these like silken sort of like greenish blue uh like clothes. They were they had a large amount of like gold and jewelry sort of covering hanging around their neck, a number of rings and the likes, and this sort of like mask that was covering their face. But as you extinguished the light, you couldn't like see it any further.
Yeah.
And you hear the voices again. It's sort of bellow out and says, "I will take a look. You keep searching for the treasure."
I hide. I quickly hide.
All right, you quickly like run to hide. You hear the as this giant begins approaching closer towards your position. Go ahead and make a stealth check to hide amongst the rubble. All right.
God damn it.
I'm wearing plate armor, guys. It's nothing I can do
Oh
about
yeah. So the giant begins
I
to
think Alquil's going to die.
the giant begins to look around, and you hear him like shouting back and says, "But we must hurry. Countess Satsuri will be mad if we are not back before she sets off." And begins to sort of like look around, like through the rubble. It's like, come out, wherever you are." And after a few moments, the giant sort of like passing over the rubble, kind of like looks past your hiding spot once, and you sort of like breathe out a sigh of relief, and then like stops and kind of like looks back, and you see this large eye kind of like peering down into the rubble, and it just sort of says, "There you are," and like you watch as it like picks up some of the rubble and like lifts it up, and exposes you, tosses the rubble aside, and it says,
I say in giant. I just says like, "Good evening."
and it says, "Fergie, we have small folk." Um, and the other giant like stops and kind of like looks over, and this giant sort of like looks down at you, and he says, "What are you doing at this place?"
I says like, "Oh, I'm just traveling to. I'm bringing a message from my friends to her relatives in Ironmaster." Say, I was just camping here in these ruins for the night since it seemed like a good place for shelter. When I heard you walking past, I was just investigating. I like gestured towards the wall. What it was you were scraping on the wall. That's when I lit the torch you saw.
And he says, "What we are searching for is none of your business, small folk. Know that
Oh,
know that you make your camp in a place most sacred to us. You understand not."
just like, oh, my apologies. I didn't realize that this was some sort of holy ground.
And by now you can see the second giant, also very similarly like dressed and garbed. Um, the giant that is speaking to you, you see, has this mask with this sort of just like this carved face on it that's just sort of this like flat expression. The other
Mhm.
giant kind of has this a sort of slight smile carved into their mask. And the other giant says, "You found a small folk. What is?" And the other giant sort of like nods and kind of gestures over to you. Um,
Good evening, I say in giant.
and the other giant sort of like kneels down a bit to look at you. And you hear this sort of like bellowing laughter. And he says, "It has been some time since I have seen one of your kind." He says, "That has able to speak our native tongue."
It's like, oh, I picked it up as I went along. I say, I am. Oh, forgive me. I have not introduced myself. I am Alquil Redmoon from the town of Tourmaline in Icewind Dale. And I bow.
And the other giant, like this, the one with the like smiling mask, like kind of like slaps with like his backhand the other giant in this sort of like gesture, like look at this one. It has manners. Impressive. And the other giant sort of says, "These small folk are getting in the way of our search. We should extricate them." And the other says, "Nonsense. Perhaps we might recruit their assistant instead." And
They're saying folk in plural. Have they seen us, or because we're not? We're a bit
Yeah, I
off.
stayed inside.
Yeah,
I mean, you
because
guys
we didn't
have
go outside yet.
the thing is, you guys like would have had a campfire inside, so like they're aware that the Alquil is probably not alone. They haven't seen
There's at
you,
least
but
more than one.
there's they're aware. Like they're not dumb. Like they're like, okay, there's one. There's probably more.
Yeah,
Alright.
I'm just gonna keep them like occupied by myself for as long as I can, or like until they themselves point out the rest of you. So it's just like if I can be of assistance, I would be happy to. He says, but as I just told your companion, I am just traveling on behalf of a friend up to the town of Ironmaster to bring a message to our relatives. He says, I do not know how much assistance I can be. Also, since I've seen frost giants. These guys are obviously not frost giants. I've seen stone giants. Are these guys stone giants, or do they look different?
They look a bit different. Stone giants have much more like chiseled looking forms. They look as if they are carved out of stone. These their skin is more like smoother and has a sort of like smoky texturing to it. And you can
Okay.
see they have like hair. Stone giants usually don't have hair. These ones have like hair that's almost like billowing white, like clouds on their head.
Okay. Right. So I just well, what I say, what I say is just like I don't know. I can be of assistance if I can, but
They sort of like look at each other, and the other one of them says, "See, he wishes to help us. That not all small folk are unaccepting." The other one just sort of like looks back and says, "Countess Sansuri would not be pleased if we revealed secrets to these small folk. As I said, we should just remove them from the situation." And you can see there's a bit of like tension here between these like two giants, as they're kind of like debating what to do.
so I say it's like obviously we have in some way offended you by camping into a sacred spot. If if it is a trouble for you, we can of course pack up our camp and travel onwards a little bit more and set up camp in some place that is not as offensive. Again, we did not know this was a holy ground.
And the giant with the like smiling mask sort of says, "Holy ground, is that what he told you?" He says,
Just,
"Felgoin, you should not lead these small folk on as you do." He says, "Holy, no, at least not anymore, not for a long, long time." He says, "Now it is but a ruin, packed with history though it might be, a ruin still." Um, and he says, "Felgoin, these small folk can help us make the search go quicker. And as you know, the faster we are, the less angry Countess Sansuri will be upon our return." The other one sort of like looks back and says, "I don't like this, but your words make sense. Fine." And then he looks down at you, Alquil, and says, "There is treasure hidden here somewhere amongst these ruins." I said, "Take you and your companions and help us find it." I said, "Perhaps we might even let you take of it a portion."
I nod and I look back to the others and I will speak in common. There's like to the others, it's like the giants wishes us for us to help them search for treasure amongst this ruin. So, if we are quick about it, perhaps they will share some. I say.
Yeah, I just don't want to be eaten, so let's do that.
And so it's just like
Quick enough, I whisper. Take it all for ourselves.
I'm
you hear
not
I'll
you
kick
hear
him in
the
the
word
shins.
you hear the word treasure, and like, you know,
yeah. So
hair
I'm
begins
just
to
like
stand on the back of your neck.
so I turn back to the giant. It's like we will of course help you. I say in giant. Says, are only these ruins that you are searching through, or are there other ruins around as well?
Says again, the one with the smiling mask, who seems to be doing most of the talking in this situation, sort of says, "There are many ruins spread far and wide across this land that you call um, the the savage frontier." He says, uh, "Remnants of a bygone era, a better time, perhaps." He says, "But no, the treasure that these murals speak of lies here, I am sure."
I nod. It's like, so what's exactly are we looking for? Just like gold, diamonds, gemstones, and the like, or is it something different?
He said, he kind of like looks back at the carving and he says, the carving speaks of a stone. He says, it bears the inscription of our kin, the Steinjotun, stone giants. He says, a small thing, the size of your fist, perhaps. Crystalline veins run through it. It holds much power. Ancient power.
A stone the size of our fist, carved by stone giants.
While this is going on, you can see the other giant that had this sort of like straight face mask on is actually like pulling the mask off and has another mask in his like bag that he's like rooting out and like places it on and you can see this sort of like slight like scowling face on it.
Oh shit.
Are they like actually? Is their skin stone? Can they not have facial expressions, or?
No, I mean their skin looks to be like normal like sort of skin
Oh.
texture. It actually has this sort of like latent wispiness to it almost. But these masks are very intricately carved and seem to be made of like gold or ivory or like rare and valuable materials.
Hmm. So I see that Fergus, whatever his name was, has done this. Yeah. We shall search quickly. So, hopefully find it quickly.
Yeah, so the giants sort of like nod and begin to like split up and start like rummaging through the ruins.
Yep. I will run back to the other two or to the group and say they're searching for a tablet. It's about the size of our fist. It's carved by stone giants and has crystalline veins running through it.
Let's get looking.
Yeah, let's get looking.
All right, so you begin to search around.
I suggest we at least pair up 2 and 2.
Yeah. So somebody can be with Alexei and somebody can be with.
I'll go with Alexei.
All right.
So you are searching with Alexei, and then we have Alquil and Nibby. So both groups can go ahead and make like investigation checks with advantage, searching around through the ruins. And we'll say basically like this first check covers maybe like the first like 10 to 20 minutes of searching.
Nice. Hey, that was me.
Yeah, that's me and you.
I'm amazing.
Yep.
All right. So you're all like rummaging around, sort of like looking at these like ruins that were described by the giants and trying to like make some sense of them yourself. But again, there's like definitely like language inscribed on them, but um, it's not like the writing that you're used to, Alquil, when you've seen like giants writing. Like giants that you know of when they write stole like the dwarven ruins. These
Yeah.
look sort of different in some way, more intricate, more like well designed, essentially. Um, so you can't really make much sense of them. However, you're sort of like piecing through, and there's like carvings, intricate carvings of um, uh, what looks like several different kinds of giants, many of which you don't recognize the form of, though you do like see amidst the carvings like stone giants and frost giants, which you recognize, and other giants that look like the ones that are with you now. And they all seem to sort of be like arranged up this sort of like mountain-like structure. And you can see at the top of the mountain this sort of like glorious carving of, well, once glorious carving of this like large city. And in the center of it, there's basically like this like large giant sort of sitting on a throne with a trident in hand. And you can see there's basically like different levels to this carving with different like giants on each level. And you're sort of like looking through it, and uh, you and Nibby sort of like spot something amidst the carving on the level that has the like stone giants in it. There's sort of like um, this like something about it is like off. And eventually, sort of like Nibby climbs up on your shoulders and like presses on this one of the stone giants, and it actually like sinks in, and you see below, like the wall begins to sort of shake, and this like compartment opens up. Um, uh, Meanwhile, searching through the rubble on the other side, we have Alexei and Lucas. You are searching, and one of the giants is sort of searching nearby, rummaging through some of the rubble, like picking it up and trying to like look underneath it in case whatever was here was like buried underneath some of this rubble.
Mhm.
And this is the giant with the like scowling mask. And as you're searching around, um, suddenly you like hear something like shift, and you look up and see this sort of like chunk of like rubble kind of like falling towards you, um, and you just hear this sort of voice kind of like booming out. I guess I think Alexei speaks giant. um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so Alexei just sort of says, uh, basically like translates, and you hear this voice rumble out that sort of says like, "Oops, watch out, little one." Um, and can you give me a dexterity saving throw?
Motherfucker.
Whoops! I crushed one of them. Accident. Nom nom nom.
No.
No, yeah, it was a
12.
12.
Unless I spend this inspiration.
Unless you spend this inspiration.
Then you have to re-roll though.
You would.
Do I?
Yes.
Damn. Never mind. I'll take the fucking
12.
I'll take the 12.
Hey, let's all roll with advantage and then see if we want to spend our inspiration.
If only.
So you take 8 points of damage as this like piece of rubble kind of like falls atop you, and like the rubble that you were searching for kind of like collapses around you. Um, and the giant sort of like looks over. You can see him standing there, like dropping a piece of rubble in his hands, and says, "I'm sorry, I did not see you searching there, little ones. You should be more careful around such unstable structures."
Inside.
What's he gonna do if he is lying?
Inside. Okay, I don't know.
I mean, he's wearing a mask, so you can't read his face. So like as far as you can tell, like he's like being genuine that it was an accident.
Fucking curse a bit.
But yeah, so meanwhile, over with Alco and Nibby, you look inside this compartment and you can see, um, there are two items within the compartment. One of them, this small, like perfectly spherical orb, on the front of which is carved this intricate rune, and all around it you see these like crystalline veins, kind of like um, perfectly revealed and polished along the outside of this sphere. Um, and it's just a sort of like beautiful, like otherworldly kind of like carving. It's very simple, but it looks spectacular. And there is also this sort of small stoppered like vial next to it.
Hmm.
The vial seems to contain this sort of like a grayish liquid.
Okay. Well, I look at this and I look at Nibby, and I was just like, I think this might be it. As I say in common. And like, should we tell the giants?
What do you mean? Do you think they'll get rid of us once we do find it?
The smiling one seems nice, he says. Seems genuine. The other one, I don't know, he says. But, I mean, if they don't find it, they might just get rid of us. So,
So we basically don't have a choice. We just have to give it to them and hope they don't eat us.
yeah, that seems to be the case, I think.
Well, and we have no choice.
I'm gonna assume that these giants, because you didn't never like, I never actually but these giants, are they like taller than the other giant, the frost giants?
Oh,
Or
definitely.
are
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So it's like, yes, all right. And I yell out in Giant. I remember only one of them being called Fergus or whatever. So I says like, Fergus, and the smiling one. I think we found something. I yell out in Giant.
Yeah, so you hear this sort of like rumbling as the giant that was closer to you, this being the one with the smiling mask, sort of
Yes.
emerges. It says have you, small one? He says
Yeah, so I gesture towards the compartment or like grab it. If I can grab it out of the compartment, just grab it and like
yeah,
show
you
it
can
to
like
him.
you can like well, Nibby's the one on your shoulder, so Nibby would have to like reach in and like grab it
Yeah.
out. But yeah, you do so and like hold it aloft, and the giant sort of like bellows, and his like laugh kind of like rumbles the ground around as he's like, I knew you had it in you. I said, see, Fergus, these small folk are much more well, adaptable. He says, I am curious what sort of mechanism hell hid it from our eyes.
Well, I gesture towards the stone giant. Like we press that one in.
Of course, I knew the Steinjotun were up to something. And he says, do you mind? And like sort of holds his massive hand out, and then like kind of like puts his like fingers together as if to like take the orb, because it's like pretty small, like
Yeah.
it's like that big basically.
Just give it to him. I'm assuming since we're still talking,
Yeah,
maybe he's
yeah.
on my shoulder. Just give it to him.
Okay, I try to give it to him without him crushing my hands.
Yeah, so he sort of like takes it, and with this like gentleness, like he's very careful about it as he like takes it and like lifts it up and like looks it over, and he says, yes, I believe this is it. And he smiles and says, was there anything else amidst the trove?
There was a vial containing some grayish liquid.
Yeah, and I assume you show that to him as well.
I'm not in control of showing.
Nibby?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah,
I
he sort of like
I slush it around a little bit.
he kind of like kneels down, like looking at it, and he says, curious. That I do not recognize. I do not think it was what we came here for. He says, well, such a small, paltry sum would do naught for a giant. He says, besides, I fear that our large fingers would crush such small a vial trying to open it. Consider it your reward for helping.
We are most gracious.
Thank you.
And the other giant sort of like takes the orb, places it like gently in this sort of like silken bag that he has at his side, and he says, "Come, Fergus, we must make quick work. Countess Sansori expects us."
If before you leave, I have one question. I did catch that one was that he is named Fergus. But what is your name?
He says, "I am Felgoin, third
Felgoin.
cousin of Countess Sansori." And he says, "It is an honor to meet you."
Says, the honor is mine. I say. Try to bow, but like realize Nibble is on me, so like, just like nods basically.
Okay, I climb up.
Yeah, climb up.
And he said,
So,
"What of your names, that I might remember them, and the contributions you have made to our cause?"
I say, I am Alquill Redman from the Icewind Dales. Say,
I am Nibbling Hayward.
Lucas Wormwood.
Are they even there now? Or
Yeah, I mean, they would have gathered around having heard the like proclamation. The other giant's sort of like standing off a bit, and you just sort of like see his like scowling golden mask.
yeah, I gesture towards like and that's like Alex. Like I gesture towards Alexei. She probably introduces herself, and towards Sirak.
And he says, Sirik of Israel. And the giant sort of like nods and says, I will remember your names well, and be sure to speak of you to the Countess when we make our report. It says, perhaps it will convince her to see the error of her ways. Yeah, he's like stands up and he says, let us be off, Fergus. We've business to attend to back at the castle. And Fergus just sort of like, you just hear this sort of like guttural growling as the two of them begin to walk off, thunderous footsteps in their wake.
Bye bye.
Fuck off,
As
James.
they like the thunders like gets more distant, I just like, okay, we survived.
I was sure we were going to get eaten there. Hey, man, nice job with that flame there.
What?
Nice job with the sneaking up on the giants with a burning torch in your hand.
I wasn't trying to sneak up on the. Yes, I should obviously have waited. I say. I realize that now. I apologize. But we got a vial out of it. Of whatever this is. I look at like vial of liquid.
I'm gonna
Maybe
pop the
less.
cork and smell it.
Yeah, so let me see here.
And yeah, hey James.
Hi.
Fuck off, James. I'm gonna pop the
Yeah,
cork
so
and smell it.
you pop the cork and smell it, and you can see it's sort of like this pale whitish gray liquid. And as you smell it, this pungent aroma akin to the smell of like rotting algae or seaweed, like assails your nostrils. It's sort of like this sickly sweet sort of like scent. It's not exactly appetizing,
Yeah.
but magical potions often are not.
Ugh. Smells like gross seaweed stuff.
Right. Well, perhaps Alexei will be able to figure out what this is.
Maybe. What would I roll?
I mean, you would have to identify it.
Oh, like the identify spell.
Yeah, 'cause
Yes.
it's a magical potion. Or you could spend some time like looking it over. It would take an
I
hour.
can
It is currently like the middle of the night. This was
Yes.
this like
We
happened
were
during the
interrupted in the long rest by two giants, which in character we have no idea what type of giants. What?
short
Short rest.
Oh, right. Did I say long rest? We're in the middle of the short rest. Therefore, as the like two giants, which out of in-game character we don't know what type of giants they are. Out of character, I'm pretty sure they're cloud giants.
I can identify it in 11 minutes. So like
Yep.
say, just give me that potion, 11 minutes, I'll identify it for you.
So to recap of what you did have missed so far, we had a very nice chat with the dragon. He was very polite and very helpful.
I mean, he didn't eat you guys, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but he actually made the cultist apologize to us for throwing shit at us earlier.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was very polite, a very nice guy. His name was Clout, and he said that like he basically apologized a lot for a few things. He had a little talk, asked us what the ice giants were after, the frost giants. We basically told him that they were after Simber, and he was like, "Ha, they're never going to find him." Then he flew off, went to Hundelstone. We met the Twip Ironbottom. I was put through one hell of a fetch quest in order to get the fucking item that will allow us to climb on giants. Then we went off, left Hundelstone, and now we are in the Hundelstone. And we are now traveling using the travel rules of like a long rest is a short rest, and a long rest can only be done in towns. We started making our way towards Ironmaster. We fought like 16 like barbarians who attacked us along the roads. We made short work of those. In no small part thanks to your companion card. And
Mark off a use of your fireball, Alexei.
Sorry?
I said mark off one of your third level spell slots.
Alright, cool.
and then as we were like camping on the crossroads-ish between Ironmaster Fireshare and the path that leads up northwards. In some ruins, these two cloud giants showed up, or I assume they're cloud giants. They spoke a little bit in like giants. They carved something on the ruin outside of where we were camping. And as they were leaving, I was like, okay, I wanted to see what that is. So I lit the torch and started walking out. I just should have waited a little bit, I guess, because they noticed the torch. And I was like, fuck, I put the torch out. But they were able to come back and find me because my stealth is shit with plate armor. I managed to charm one of them with my eloquence in giant and my good manners. I charmed the one that was known Felgwyn. He was a nice one, and then there was Fergus, who was like didn't really like him. And they were told us that Felgin told us that they are searching for an item, a small stone about the size of our fists, not their fists, with like crystalline veins in them. And they were like, hey, or Felgin was like, hey, can you help us search this ruin for this item? And Fergus was just like, no, let's just kill them and be done with it. And we were like, sure, we could help them search these ruins for this item. And we did that. We found the item alongside this potion. We showed it to them, and Felgwyn said, was very happy. The other guy was like, eh. And then they had to go back to their Countess on Shure, and we survived. And that's where we are now.
But the important thing is you can climb giants now, right?
What?
But the important thing is you can now climb on giants.
Yes, I can climb on giants now.
Cool. I like how my companion abilities are literally just Firebolt and Fireball.
Yes. And there's also knowledge.
I had to make it within like 5 minutes, so
yeah. There's very little would make us believe you're a transmutation wizard.
I have transmutation spells like haste.
Yeah.
Yes, but this just in case somebody wanted to screenshot it like they did the other one, that is the ruin that was on the orb.
Yep.
There.
Oh. You have it out somewhere?
Yes,
Oh, there it is.
It's right here.
And I assume I don't understand what the fuck that is.
No, it's also very just like wet.
Pretty cool though.
Yes. I'm gonna collect an alphabet of this.
I mean, obviously what it says is A.
I'm gonna have an alphabet of these.
Yes. Yeah, and so that is that occurs within like that all basically occurred and resolved within the first like hour and a half of the night. Alexei, you're gonna go ahead and stay up a little bit to identify this this potion.
Mm-hmm.
Very well. So you do so. We'll go ahead and fast forward through, and it is one of these. So that is what you find.
Potion of giant size.
Ooh. What happens if a giant drinks that?
But nothing. He said that like, the liquid, it was too it was not enough liquid for it to affect them.
Oh yeah.
Your strength becomes 25. Your hit point max is doubled.
Damn.
Holy shit.
Some tight shit for alcohol right there.
So there's not enough of this to drink then.
There's
So
not
for
for
us it is.
us to drink, not for a giant to drink.
Right, okay. But yeah, after Alexei's done identifying, I guess you'd go up to Alquil and just say, so this is a potion of giant size.
Yeah, this is a potion like Alexei has never heard of. Like you're probably like distinctly aware of what sort of potions are out there, and this is something like else entirely. You've never like even seen one of these.
It's a legendary item. Holy
Yeah.
shit! Watch me never use it because it's legendary.
I'm out
Legend,
of AP.
wait for
Use
it.
an ether, but you can't buy
Dairy.
It's just like,
Final battle.
huh? So what does it do?
So it makes you huge, like a giant, and stronger, and hit harder, and tougher to kill. Here you go.
All right, thanks. I take it, and I will pocket it alongside my healing potions.
I can't imagine
Oops.
that's ever going to cause any confusion ever.
Of course not.
I
My
grab a
fifth endeavor.
potion and drink it. Well, I mean, it would still be a heal because you'd got double HP.
Yeah, and I think they have different colors to them.
Well, yeah, potions of healing are red, and this one is like a milky white.
Yep. All right, a potion of giant size. Was nice.
You haven't said much, Zach.
Not much has happened.
And the rest of this night's short rest goes uneventfully.
Ooh,
So
I get
you
all my
may
spell slots back.
all take a short rest.
Oh, I didn't even get to roll.
Dang.
We have had one long rest, by the way, Alexei.
Yeah, I already clicked it for him.
Okay.
I've still used this third level spell slot, haven't I?
Yeah, because we
Yes.
only this only counts as a short rest.
I don't
Oh,
think
I
your
get my
wizard level is
fucking,
high enough to.
Beast shapes get back on short rest. Sorry, wild shapes.
Yep. All right. So apparently the cloud giants were looking for some crystallines thing.
Get my third level spell slot back for Arcane Recovery.
Nice.
All right. So you begin the journey up the trail towards Ironmaster. Let's see.
Do I get my pearl power charge back? It's not like a long rest or anything. It just says the next morning.
Oh yeah, it's like a
Cool.
day thing. Like magic items that like that aren't changed. They still
Okay.
function. So let us see if anything interesting occurs on the road up towards Ironmaster. 12, 10, 19, 18. Can somebody roll me a D100?
Alright, so we're cutting north to go to Ironmaster then.
Yeah.
It's only gonna be like a day out of the way. A 92.
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, so you are traveling down the road. This is sort of towards the later part of the day. And eventually you sort of see up ahead a let me see here. How many? You see a lone figure walking down the road from like the direction you're traveling to, like in your direction.
We all see this, or
Yeah, like he's not making any efforts to like stay hidden.
All right. We'll just
another
approach it
shitty
again.
ambush. Let's kill him.
No. This is probably just a traveler.
Oh, so don't kill him.
Yes.
Not everything up here is out to kill us.
Like those cloud giants.
Oh yeah.
Or like those giants, I mean, not the cloud giants.
Alright, I guess we approach them.
Yes,
All
we
right.
approach.
So as you approach closer, you can see that the figure now, as you get closer, is quite clearly a dwarven man. He is wearing sort of like leathery armor in the dwarven style. His sort of red, like bright red, reddish orange beard is like tied and knotted into several different pieces, each with like gold jewelry sort of like woven into them. His hair has been like trimmed into this sort of like faux hawk sort of thing. And he's carrying like a number of different like weapons and such on him. A few like axes, like small like throwing axes, and like a larger kind of battle axe strapped across his back. He's alone. And as you approach, he kind of like waves you down, and he says, "Travelers, uh, if you are heading up to Ironmaster, know that unfortunately you will not be welcome."
Why not? I
And
say.
he said, I said, "Well, look at you. You've not the look of dwarves amongst you. They only let their own kind in."
If that is the problem. No worries. We are not here to enter Iron Master. We are merely here to deliver a message from Ogric Brighton from Brinchander.
He says, "Brighthelm, is that so? Oh. So she's doing well then. Good to hear. Good to hear." He says, "Tell me, travelers, what news do you have of the roads up ahead? Have you encountered any of those giants?"
I was just about to say, we met two giants last night, traveling the ruins near the crossroads between our master Fireshare and Hundelstone. So,
He said, "So even up here, they..." And he sort of like shakes his head and says, "Where are my manners? I've yet to introduce myself." He like puts out a hand and he says, "I am Brork Onskull."
I'll call Red Moon, I say.
He sort of like grabs your hand with like surprising like strength and sort of shakes it vigorously. Um, and he says, "I myself am just have come from Ironmaster." He says, "Things are looking dire." He says, "I was setting out in search of well, answers, I suppose."
Pretty cool. That's just like, answers for what?
He says, "Something is stirring deep in the underdark below." I said, he says, "I do not wish to speak too much about it, but some of our scouts, the ones we sent to rout out the Drow and Dwergar beneath Ironmaster, have returned, disfigured, scarred, crippled. These we have not seen before. They report giant kin waltzing around in the caverns. This we have not seen before."
Giants, huh? Right. Similar news to what we bring from the Icewind Dales, from the 10 pounds. Prince Shander was attacked by the frost giants. Though we were able to drive them off. Ogric fears that Prince Shander cannot stand another attack and was hoping to petition her kin for aid.
He says, well, he says, I, says, "I do not know that they will, with current things as they stand, be able to send anything, but it cannot hurt to ask." He says, "Perhaps," he kind of like looks you over, and he says, "Perhaps I might join you on the way." He says, "I can show you the path."
That would be most appreciated.
And yeah, he sort of says, "This way, follow me," and begins to like lead you on down the trail, which is like quite clearly like and quickly like sort of giving way. Obviously, this trail isn't very like well traveled, so it's sort of
Yeah.
like giving way to like more and more like snow cover, and the trail becomes harder and harder to follow. But he sort of like carries on as if it doesn't like bother him, and he says, "I said, so you say that the giants have plagued the Dales?" He says,
Yes.
and he says, hmm, he says, "Tell me, what I said, what came of their attacks?" I said,
They were searching for someone, he says. I'm a human named Arthur Simba, he says. They came early in the morning, rained down stone upon Brinchanda, destroying many buildings and taking many lives, I fear. He says. We repelled them at the gates, or held them at the gates, which they broke through, but we were able to slay the ones that made their way in, and the others decided to leave. Says,
Yeah, he says that. He said, terrible news. It is good to hear that you fought them off. He says, tell me, were any of the survivors changed in any way? He says,
changed.
he says,
Says,
their
changed how?
flesh warped, disfigured, twisted.
I shake my head. This is, as far as I'm aware, none of that occurred.
He said, different giants then. Things are more dire than perhaps we thought.
From the sources that I've been able to, from some sources that I have, or have been able to speak to, it sounds like the giants are moving all over the Sword Coast of the North. Says, according to someone, there was something that kept them in check, but that has been destroyed. I don't know what exactly.
And yeah, he sort of like scratches at his beard, and he says, I'm no scholar of giants. He sort of shakes his head. Usually we just kill them. And he says, "Hmm, perhaps, he said, perhaps I should report of this to the king. Things are more dire than perhaps we thought." And yeah, he sort of like continues to lead you on.
Yeah.
Like several hours kind of like pass, and eventually like the road has basically like disappeared completely at this point. But you can
Yeah.
see there are like up ahead a number of these like basically like stacked stone menhirs that sort of like have this like symbol of like this dwarven rune carved into them, the sigil of Iron Master. Um,
Yeah.
and he sort of walks you up to the first one and sort of like holds up a hand and says,
Yeah, I will stop as well.
said, wait here. I will see where the watch is nearby and bring them to you.
I know this is like Ogre told us as much to wait at the first marker.
And he said, it will be a short time. And then he sort of like walks off.
Yep.
Yeah, and like a little like while passes. You're not standing there for a long time, but it is like a noticeable amount of time that passes before you see a large like group of dwarves, many of them armored, wielding crossbows and axes, sort of come over a hilltop from nearby, led by this dwarven fellow who you ran into, um,
Yep.
and yeah, they sort of like approach towards you, looking at you and kind of like standing out and surrounding you, like weapons at the ready just in case. Um,
Yep.
and he says, Bjork told us you wish to speak with us. Some news from Bryn Shander.
Yes, I will produce Ogre Brighthelm's medallion, and I say I will speak in Dwarven now that there's this group of Dwarven. And I'll turn towards the others like sorry if you don't understand anything, and I turn around and like speak in Dwarven. It's like I am Alquil Redmoon from the Ten Towns, and I've come to Ironmaster on behalf of a friend, Ogre Brighthelm. Just she wished for me to carry a message to her kin, the Brighthelm clan.
Yeah, so they sort of like look around, and he says, Brighthelm, and kind of says, is there a Brighthelm amongst this group? And the others sort of say, nay, he's back at the barracks. And he says, And he kind of like steps forward and like looks at the medallion and just like holds out his hand and says, "May I?"
I give him the medallion.
Yeah, he sort of like looks it over. The craftsmanship is undeniable. What they say is true, and he sort of like hands it back to you.
Yep.
And he says, "Some of you go and fetch her brother Gort." Um, and they like nod and like head off. Bjork also like sort of says, "I must go report to the king. These travelers have brought us news of the happenings outside. Things are worse than we had thought." And the dwarf like a leader of this guard force like nods and says, "The stone be with you, Arnskull." And him and a number of the guards kind of like walk off. And
Yeah.
these
Wave goodbye.
these guards
I'll
just kind
also
of.
I'll also translate anything they say in Dwarven to the rest of the party members.
I know Dwarven.
Yeah, so you're like kind of basically there's this sort of like awkward like silence as like the guards are just kind of like standing and watching you um, for a while as you're like um, waiting for them to get to Iron Master and back. It's like a long time. Like Iron Master is still quite a ways away, probably at
Yeah.
least like an hour or so. So like a couple of hours kind of like pass where you're just sort of like gathered around. I mean, I should assume eventually you kind of like set up some sort of like little camp to just like take a
Yeah.
load off or whatever. Um, the guards just gonna kind of continue to watch out. Some of them break off to like patrol nearby, um, but a majority of them kind of like stay and watch. And eventually, you can hear the sound of like booted footfalls coming from further down the trail, and you see the same group of dwarves returning. This time in the company of another dwarf. He's got this sort of like again like this bright auburn red kind of like hair, which you immediately sort of like recognize the like familial relationship. Like looks a lot similar to Augrek.
Yeah.
But his face is sort of blackened with soot. He's got this like blacksmith's hammer basically at his belt, and it's quite clearly he's one of the like more of like the smithing dwarf than the giant killing dwarf.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, he sort of like walks up and says, "I was told there was news from one of my sisters."
I nod and say I produced the medallion. I walk up to him and I like show him. It's like I am Alcool Redmond from the Ten Towns. I come here on behalf of Ogret Brighthelm, who wished for me to carry a message to her kin. Says
He says,
and
yeah, so he like holds out his hand.
yeah, I gave him the medallion.
Okay, he sort of like looks it over. Aye, aye, that's one of ours. And yeah, he like pockets it. Says,
Yep.
"What is it that
It's just-
my sister wished us to hear?"
First of all, she wished to tell you that she's doing well and that she's living healthy and is happy in her life. But on the more dire front, it's that Bryn Shander and the Ten Towns have recently been attacked by frost giants. And though the giants have been driven off, there's Ogric fears that they might come again. And Bryn Shander and the Ten Towns alone do not have the forces necessary to be able to repel such an attack. She wished to ask her kin for aid.
He sort of like nods as you're like talking along and kind of like nods. Says uh, giants there too. I have heard the rumors from the scouts down in the Underdark. To think they would attack even so far as the Dales. Terrible business, terrible days these. And he says, he like claps you kind of like on the upper arm, and he says,
Yep.
"Well, I have heard you loud and clear." He says, "I will take Ogrek's request to the clan elders. They will make of it what they will." And he says, "I have also heard her other message loud and clear." He said, "And I understand the situation." He says, "Thank you for bringing this medallion. It means a lot to us."
I says like, "You're very welcome." I says, "I am happy to help a friend. Ulrich has been a true friend through many years."
And yeah, he sort of like looks around and says, "You have traveled a long way." He says, "I must give you thanks." He says, "Hold a moment," and he begins sort of like um, rummaging through like a bag that he has, like a simple leather bag that he has, and he says, "I have something here for you, a payment for the delivery. I believe that is how things are done up here." Um, and yeah, he sort of like pulls out this like handful of what look like these sort of like polished black stones. Um, and he sort of like starts like he's got a bunch of them, and he starts like he looks
Yeah.
around and starts like counting them out like 1, 2, 3, 4, and like pushes the rest of the way, and then sort of like holds up these stones. And he says,
Yeah.
I said, "One of them for each of you for delivering the message."
There's technically the five of us with Zirak. Huh? Huh?
He doesn't have the look of a fighter amongst them. Cargo, I think.
Harsh.
Harsh, yeah. It's just like
I
very
look at
well.
myself.
It's just like I like take this like thank you very much. I'll take the stones and I'll hand out one to each of us.
Yes.
Cool. So what I write on my sheet?
They are jet gemstones worth 100 gold.
Okay. I was about to say, he didn't just give us a fucking rock, did he?
Yeah, it's a
jet
polished black
gemstone?
room. Yeah, it's a jet gemstone. And it's worth 100 gold.
Ooh.
Stop always sleeping, Zach.
Well, I mean, nothing was going on.
But then, like, what? You heard some money and you were like, I'm up now.
It was more of snoozing.
Yes.
So, with that out of the way, he sort of like bids you farewell, saying he will deliver the messages to the
Yes.
clan, um, and parts with the company of dwarves sort of escorting him. Um, and the dwarf captain sort of turns to you and says, "Is that all?"
And it's just like I look at the dwarf captain and says like, yes, I believe so. And the other news we did tell Breark already. Says unless you want to hear me reiterate the news, but it's much the same.
He says, "No, Bjork went to tell the king." He says, "We do not need to know such things." He says,
Says,
"Very well." He says, "If there is nothing else, be off with you."
yes, of course. Look, at the time of day, how many hours of travel do you have left for this day?
Um, so this basically getting to this point was most of the day. You probably have maybe like an hour that you can like head back.
Yeah,
Especially
well,
considering you had to wait for the dwarves to like leave and return.
yeah. So I'm looking at these dwarves, looking at like the time, and it's like we will be off. I'm pretty sure the dwarves would just be angered if we just like let's just camp here.
We'll
It's just-
leave a respectable distance away and then camp.
yeah, we'll leave the 1 hour travel and then camp.
Yeah, so you begin to like walk away. The dwarves like break off and continue their patrols, and you begin like walking away. Um, when you hear like hurried footfall of like heavy boots behind you.
Turn around.
You turn around, and you see Breork kind of like running down the trail towards you, seemingly like out of breath and kind of in a hurry. Um, and he sort of like runs up towards you and he says, "Good, good, I did not miss you." Um,
Sure.
Is
Gone
there
faster.
is there some problem, Breor?
he says, "No, no." Says, "I relayed the news to the king, um, and he has given me something of a mission." Uh, he says,
Okay.
It is clear that not only us are plagued by the assault of these giants. There is something bigger in the works." He says, he kind of like looks at each of you and he says, "Tell me, do you have room in your company for one more?
And I look at the others and I look back at him and just like, well, certainly, but depends on where you're going. We are traveling south to the human city of Waterdeep, I say, to try to seek aid there for the giant issue.
And he says, that will be good enough for me. He said, the king has sent me in search of answers. What drives the giants such? He says,
And I nod. Then very well, I says. Then by all means, join us.
sort of like he nods and says, yes. And kind of like again, like kind of like puts out his hand to like basically like clap you on the forearm. He says,
Oh.
he says, I am a skilled hunter and forager both. He says, I am sure my skills will be of great use to you in the coming days and perhaps months that we travel together.
I feel like someday you are going to sound and act very different.
Maybe one day Tom will actually be here for a session.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I says like, well, we will be glad to have you.
Yeah, so he nods. And I don't know, music plays as you recruit a new party member that may or may not be here.
You know what this is gonna be like? This is gonna be like Curse of Strahd, where the DM plays Tom's character more than he does.
Probably.
I'll play his character.
All right, and with that, you have successfully recruited your 5th party member.
Yay.
Yeah.
And I think as you guys are like setting down your camp and sort of getting ready to head in for the night, the sun sort of sinking in the horizon above, surrounded by nothing more than just sort of like tundra. That is where we are going to call things off here. And from this point onwards, basically, like I said, we are going to be using the sort of like traveling rest rules
Yes.
that I had posted. And also, you have all been elevated to 6th level. And we will be switching to an experience gain system for encounters for the time being, for the foreseeable future.
You have 23,000 experience right now.
And yes, you are at the base level of 6th level.
No, wait, base level is 14. 23,000 is what we need to get. My bad.
So what are we at?
13. I think it's 13,000.
Whatever the base is. I don't have it on top of my head, but it's there on the table in the player's handbook.
Come on, high roll. Come on, high roll. Ah!
You have 4 Constitution?
It's level 6. No, 14,000. We start at 14,000. That's the one that's required to level up to level 6. And then 23,000. So we need 9,000 experience to reach level 7. All right.
Sorry, say the amount we're at again, 14?
We have 14,000 currently. And we need 9,000 in order to level up. I have Aura of Protection.
Is that going to be like the new Shield of Faith?
Shield of Fate is now back on the spell list. Is what that means.
Elquill just paints a big old target across his chest.
Yeah.
Nothing. All
As
right,
it should
so
be.
with that,
Same.
we bid adieu for the day. I will see all of you lovely folks next week. Thor, you are in charge of the recap.
Sure you don't want me to do it?
No, you weren't here.
Fuck off, James.
And we will see you next week. Same time, same place.